What is going on, everybody? Getting Wimkin up real quick. If you have not had a chance, stop by Wimkin today, 1 o'clock till about 4 o'clock. They're doing a pretty huge rally event around the fentanyl test, and you guys should take a look. I was going to try to attend, but unfortunately I will not be able to. One, I wasn't invited, which is totally fine because this is a pretty big A list of names, and I'm not one of them. And second, it's been crazy. It has been crazy for Jason. He's been going through a ton of stuff, and putting this together is pretty huge. So we're excited to see him doing this, and should be some good names there. I know Roseanne Barr is going to be there. Mel K is going to be there. I think Carrie Lake is going to show up as well. So it should be a good event. If you haven't had a chance, go over to wimkin.com, sign up. But let's get to it. We got a busy day. We got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, we're doing a morning show. We're going to try to bring the morning show. I'll talk to you guys about it in about 5-6 seconds. Let's get into this, and I will be right back. Step into a Wimkin.
Matthew, it's Judge Janine, and I wanted to congratulate you on the Don't Unfriend Me show at the DUM show. I was thinking about that whole thing the other day when I thought it was right after Donald Trump was elected that everybody on the left started unfriending anyone on the right. So I'm glad you're calling them out. We've got a great name for the show, and I hope that you're true to the values, conservative values, Republican values, and that you call those people out. I think it's great, and I know you've got 135,000 followers. I hope you get
Yeah, that's close to like 200,000 now, so we got to update that thing. Sorry.
A lot more, and just keep the faith. Keep fighting. I think we may get America back, but in the meantime, we've got a steep hill to climb, and you're one of the fighters, one of the patriots. So thank you for what you're doing.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. Sorry, I gotta move this thing. Hold on. And there we go. Hope everyone's doing well. Sorry, Wimkin people. I don't know what happened. It wasn't me. It just we got cut off. Not sure why. I don't know what to tell you.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is
So
the
I'm not sure what happened, but the good news is I will put it back up and we can play it after we do this. I got to put this AM thing. I'll walk you through it. Usually we do a PM show, and I've realized that which is sad, the long form videos are just dead. It's a thing of the past, and it's like 8-track or CD. I got to let it go. I love doing the long form shows. I really do. I love when I would just sit down for an hour and just do a show. And then I just realized that they just weren't short enough for people's attention spans. And so I cut them down to 15, 20 minutes. And then that was too long. Then I cut them down to 5 and 10, and people complained that they weren't long enough. So I just decided over the weekend that we're going to stop the long form videos. And it's going to save a lot of time. It's much easier to do a live show, and it's dumber, to be honest with you. And that's what people want, and not necessarily the people who are watching here. I think we have a wide breadth of people who like long form content and short form content. But there was a time that the long form videos were getting 90,000, 100,000 views an episode. And that was 5 times a week. It was bringing 500,000 viewers. And now I can't even get 1,000 views. So it's just Facebook doesn't show them, Instagram doesn't show them, Twitter doesn't show them. Nobody wants long form content anymore. The only people who do are YouTube, and YouTube throttles the people that they don't like. So it's impossible. So honestly, the show has grown leaps and bounds over the live show. And that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to try to focus on is in the morning. I think we'll just kind of like do maybe an hour and a half. It depends on the news cycle. Definitely a Monday show would probably be 2 hours to cover the weekend news. And then we'll do an evening show. And I think this opens up a different form of viewer as well. It brings in the people who work at night, obviously. It brings in our day goers. It brings in an audience that's used to watching shows like Benny Johnson and Dan Bongino and Justin Barclay, and it's a more competitive time frame in the morning, so that's going to be a challenge. And then we'll kind of just figure out our sweet spot. We did really well with the Mike and Matt show. That did really well in the mornings, and I think it was too early. So my thoughts are around 10 o'clock is a good sweet spot. People seem to be up and about. It catches the West Coast at 7 a.m. on their route to work, and your opinion means something. So if you think that, hey, you know what, this time would work better for me or whatever, we'll take all numbers into account, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. It's not a huge thing for me to make this blow up so big that you know it becomes the number one focus of the show. I don't think we'll ever move away from nights. It's our bread and butter. It's a time slot that most people aren't on and broadcasting because they want their evenings off, and we've always been willing to slide into a time slot which isn't the most convenient for us in order to make an impact. So that's what we're going to do. And this was something that we talked about with the DUM Club, and we were like, how do we make this more impactful, and how do we make the DUM Club better and take it completely out of Spreely's hands, which just completely bungled the whole thing. And we've got a good strategy that we're going to relaunch the DUM Club on the 21st, make it affordable for everybody. Make it something that everyone can participate in. It's a step up from the Facebook club, which is just really, you know, a discount and then, you know, participating with the fellow dummies. But we want the DUM Club to be bigger, more expansive, more under our control. And we thought that the AM show would be a great way to do that. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to try this for a little bit, and we'll see if it sticks. And it's going to be difficult to start it from the ground up. But hey, you know what? We've got a lot to cover. So welcome to the people who are in chat right now. Tommy, good to see you. Good morning, Terry. Something we don't do on the evening show because we just don't have the time is obviously communicate with the viewers. And I expect this to be a much more viewer intensive type show because we can slow down. a little bit. So Tommy, welcome. What's going on, JD? Bubba? At the bottom of the boot state. Bubba is in town. Morning, Matt. Good to see you, buddy. Morning, Matt and Dummies. Lawrence, hello. What the duck, says morning all. I love your avatar. It's great. Sherry Johnson, good morning, ma'am. Chef lady's in the house. Yeah, sorry about Wimkin. I don't know what happened. Honestly, we Facebook and Wimkin have been really weird the last few days, and I don't know what's going on, but I have to schedule the show like 6 times on Facebook before it'll take, and then Wimkin keeps canceling. So I don't know. After that update that Jason did, it's just not stable. So something's going on. I got to give him some feedback and let him know. But we're going to see if we can get it working here. It seemed to be okay on Friday. So good morning, Janet. What's going on? Tori Spillman is in the house. Kerrigan, hello. I haven't seen Kerrigan here before. Kerrigan Mannion. Maybe a couple times. I'm pretty good with that. I don't forget faces. Nanette Kowalczyk. Yeah, Kowalczyk, is that correct? I'm really good with Polish names. Swedish, Finnish, Russian, Czechoslovakian, former Czechoslovakian. I watch a lot of hockey. Kowalczyk. Is that correct? Am I right? I dated a girl when I was in, well, not really dated. Yes. Great friend who we tried to date and it just was awkward as hell. Holly Matakevitz. Yeah. So I started young learning names that were impossible to pronounce. Kowalczyk. Tell me I'm right. Like, oh my God, you spelled it. You said it right. Nobody gets it right. Watch this. Here it comes. Is this your new time slot? No, it's once again, Karen, just doing an AM show. We're going to try it out for a little bit. The View. That's right. The View. That's true. Brian, what's up, buddy? Jason Wixom, what's going on, man? How are we doing? I saw an interesting slide last night, and it was talking about the active players to reach 800 points in the NHL, and it was like Malkin, Crosby, Ovechkin, McKinnon. And I think, oh my God, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I want to say Kuznetsov, but it's not Kuznetsov. The Tampa Bay, come on, man. One of the best players in the league. God, why can't I think of his name? Now I'm thinking of Olczyk, and it's not Eddie. What the hell am I thinking? My God, he's on the scoring. I'm getting old. Whatever, you know who I'm talking about. Just slap me upside the head, Jason. I can't believe I'm forgetting this. Shit, I give up. 8 days to get your vote in. That's correct. Just write it down. I cannot believe I'm spacing this out. I'm thinking Braden Point, but it's not Braden Point. Of course, it's not Point. Whatever. Just tell me. You said my last name right. See, I told you she would say it. Look at that. See. Oh my God, you got my name right. See, told you. Hockey. But I can't remember what the hell's wrong with me. This is like me forgetting Joe Biden. Oh, this is embarrassing. Oh, so embarrassing. I gotta look it up. I'm so pathetic. Oh my God, Kucherov. What a douche I am. What a douche. Did I say Kuznetsov? Now, Kuznetsov is a vessel in the Russian military. And here I'm just going back to Russian vessels. The hell's wrong with me? Kucherov. Yeah, he's a great player. Anyway, it was just interesting because I saw it, and Nate has done it in like, I don't know. It's like 800 games. So he's almost a point a game, point and a half a game, whatever it is. It's just really cool to see. And Kucherov was actually, it just shows you how talented he is, because he was actually quite a far. It took him more games to do it, but he's an active player. But it just shows you he didn't have the talent that some of these other players have. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, Nathan McKinnon has Rantanen. It's like, okay, please. Nathan McKinnon makes every, look at Colton. Colton is a third line player. I mean, ultimately for Tampa Bay, he's making Colton look like freaking Jaromir Jagr this season. I mean, he's just killing it. All right. You need a cognitive test? I think so. I think so. Yeah, Chef's like, Tampa Bay's forgettable. No, they're not. They're playing well. All right, let's get into this. By the way, real quick, thedumbshow.com/donate. Like always, these shows are not free. It's not cheap. We have to stream this. That costs money. We have the software. That costs money. Everything costs money. The lights, the camera, everything. All of it costs money. And Facebook, the dicks, don't allow us to go ahead and use stars. They don't allow us to make money on these anymore. They don't show ads on these. They have completely demonetized us. And it really sucks. It really does, because we haven't done anything wrong. And it's just literally disappeared. The money has you're just like, we're not showing ads on your live anymore. Why? There's no reason. We're not showing ads on your long form content anymore. We're not giving you any money for reels. We won't let you have stars. So they've just slowly downgraded. And even though we've got 199,000, we're already hit 200,000 followers on Facebook, nobody sees us. And this is what happens. So we have went to a donation model, and people have been amazing. I mean, people have donated so much over the last 6 months, and we've hit our goal now. This will be night number 18. So we're going to try to keep it separate between the evening and AM hours. But if you have the ability, you've taken care of your family, you got your vacation set, you've got your tickets to the big game, all that, Christmas is coming. You've got money set aside, you got groceries, all those things are good, and you're not stressed out. You have the ability, you want to help out the Dumb Show, this is how you do it. You just thedumbshow.com/donate. It'll never be required. What is required is if you would like, follow, share, hit the smash button down below, and make sure we share this out. That means a great deal to us. All right. Okay. I understand that the Democrat Party has to do whatever it takes to win an election. But I've been hearing since I was a little boy, this is the most important election of our lifetime. And everyone hears that. And it happens every single election. It's the most important election of our lifetime. This election, this is it. If we don't do this, they would say our government, the freedom of the American way, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is in jeopardy. Now it's democracy, right? The democracy is in jeopardy. The democracy is always in jeopardy because democracies have failed, and they have been an epic failure throughout history. The United States has tried to install democracies 26 times and replaced and nation build, and they have failed every single time. Every single time. They were a failure in Russia. They were a failure in Asian countries. They were a failure in the Middle East. We know democracy by itself is a complete and utter failure. And the founding fathers didn't want a democracy. They wanted a representative government, but they wanted to keep the government small. And this was the bone of contention between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. We know this, covered it a million times. It's not like it's hard. But the issue here is that when they say this is the most important election of our lifetime, I will tell you this is not the most important election of our lifetime. It's not. It's just not. People are like, but Matt, World War III and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Yeah. But in the sake of the reason why this is the most important, or the reason why they're saying it's the most important, and it being the most important are two different things. Now, are we on the precipice of an open border that's completely porous? Sure. Are we on the precipice of World War III? In fact, I believe we're in World War III. And if things don't change, it will be a full-blown World War III. But by definition, fighting a two-ocean war right now with proxy, financially, we are setting ourselves up for the early stages of World War III. And it's very reminiscent of World War I. Maybe not at the scale, and maybe not the countries involved, but there absolutely is a feeling of a possibility that we move into WW3 from what's taking place right now, at least more than where we were with the Cold War. Cold War was between Russia and the United States. And although the ramifications of Russia and the United States blowing each other up wouldn't necessarily have brought in all countries involved in that processes, it's just the chances of that happening are, would you imagine England getting involved against Russia Would you imagine Cuba? Would you imagine, say, Mexico or South American countries invading the United States because Russia attacked? The Cuban Missile Crisis was a nuclear threat more than it was a world war or multiple superpowers fighting against each other. When we say our lifetime, this is the most dangerous time in our lifetime. I don't know. The economic crashes that we saw with the housing market, those were pretty serious. What we saw after 9/11, that was pretty serious. Shutting down COVID and shutting down businesses and shutting down our schools and the damage that we did to our country from an economic standpoint, educational standpoint, those are pretty serious. Vietnam was pretty serious. Cold War was pretty serious. The AIDS epidemic was pretty serious. There's a lot of things throughout history where you're living in the moment and you look at it and go, oh, this is the most important time in history ever. And it not necessarily is after some reflection. When I say we're on the precipice of an open border, it's not open. That's a ridiculous statement. It's not open. It's just not. It's not secure. For anyone to say that we have an open border, it hasn't been down to the border. They just haven't. I'm sorry, you haven't. The Border Patrol does an amazing job, and they do the best that they can with the limited resources and the confines that the U.S. government has put on them. But it's not open. It's not open. There are people most assuredly sneaking over. There are drugs coming over. There's sex trafficking. All of these things. Yes, all of this is true, but it doesn't mean it's open. Words matter, because I'm going to sit here and tell you over the next hour why words matter. But if I allow something like that, an open border, I'm not practicing what I preach, because we have a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden. Words matter. Words matter. So although our border is not even remotely close to ideal and it's not secure, it's not open. It's not open. It's not Colorado to Nebraska or Nebraska to Oklahoma or Oklahoma to Wyoming or, whatever. It's not, you can't do that. That's impossible. So let's just do Nebraska to Wyoming, and we'll do Colorado to Utah. It's not open like that. That's open. Our border is most assuredly supposed to be closed, but it is porous. There are illegals. There's criminal elements that are coming over and breaking laws. That's like saying your home's not secure. Your home's secure. You got a lock on it. There's signs everywhere. Do not trespass. Do not enter. But if somebody enters, it doesn't mean your house was open. It means someone broke the law and entered. So it bothers me when I keep hearing we have an open border. It's just open. It's just an open border. There's letting them come in. Hundreds of millions of people a day. That's not what's happening. But there are millions of people crossing illegally. There are millions of people who are overstaying their visas. I mean, if you want to go ahead and take the southern border and say that's the biggest border issue that we have in the United States, it's actually not true. It's people who are overstaying visas. It's people who are overstaying their work permits. It's people who are entering the country and staying. That is a huge problem as well. It's not just Mexico. We have a huge northern border issue as well. The problem is that the rape and the sex trafficking and the illicit drugs and gun running and all of that comes from the southern border predominantly. Although there's drugs that come in from Canada. There's sex trafficking in Canada. Anybody thinks that there's not, you're just like, oh, they're all about maple syrup and hockey. No, they do some illegal shit too. If you've never been to Quebec or Montreal, yeah. But we have a responsibility to use words in an effective way. This is why I get upset at the stolen election thing, right? There's a difference between stolen and manipulating, hijacking, or altering state constitutions under emergency powers. And although it certainly feels stolen, and you're like, oh, well, it's a semantic. It's not a semantic. Because when you say the election was stolen, that means you have a certain amount of people who are culpable, who are responsible for perpetrating a crime against the American people. That's not what happened. You have multiple states, Democratic electedly and appointed judges who altered the state's constitution through COVID emergency powers by not using legislation, but using judicial discretion, or indiscretion in this case, to alter the election. That isn't one person responsible, because you can't just go, okay, it's George Soros who did that, because that's not what happened. You have an element that is the DNC, the current regime, the current administration, big donors, political party captains, state DNC captains and co-chairs and chairs. You have boards, you have political action committees, you have special interest groups. All of these people are responsible for moving somebody forward and getting elected. And they push this forward, and these ideas come out. Well, here's what we could do. We could go ahead and we could use COVID. We could say that in the last 6 months, people at the DMV haven't been able to register to vote. So what we should do is take current move-in rolls, people who've registered, who have went ahead and sent in their new address to the U.S. Postal Service, take those records and send them a ballot, even though they're not registered. So because of COVID. Because it's taking 6 months to get a replacement license. It's taking 6 months in California to get a birth certificate. And people are going to register to vote and get signed up, and they can't because the DMV is backed up 6 months. We may as well just proactively send out this many ballots to unregistered voters. Well, that's illegal. You can't do that. That's solicitation. And every single state has that exact same law in its state's constitution. Is in a federal election, you can't solicit ballots. You can't just send ballots out to people who aren't voting and aren't registered. Well, that's what happened. We know this happened. They openly said they did this. This is why we saw a 40, 50 million voter increase in 2020. And here's the funny thing, is that the people who voted in that election are getting ballots now because now they were retroactively registered to vote. So we have to ask ourselves the question, is that stolen, or is that somebody who utilized and leveraged a crisis to go ahead and alter the way we've done elections and forever alter our election system? Yeah, that's what happened. But it's not illegal because there's no precedent for it. And that's what is so hard for people to understand, is murder at one point was not illegal. Embezzlement, beating your wife, shoplifting, jaywalking, shorting stock. None of these things were illegal at one point until they were. And what happens is then a judge and a jury goes ahead and they make a precedent in a decision to demonstrate guilt or innocence based upon a jury of their peers through due process. That decision is entered into state, federal, local levels, and then a mandate is ensued on every decision posthumous from that event. And if murder is illegal in this state, but it's not in this state, that state has a choice to go ahead and follow that precedent and that law and decide to judge accordingly. This is why we have abortion that has some laws over here and some laws over there, and the states get to decide until the federal government comes in and with a vote by the states of a 2/3 majority says, we are going to codify this into a federal law, which then becomes an amendment, and then it is now the law of the land of the United States. But this is the problem when you have a federal election in the states, is the states get to decide how they run their elections, and you get issues. You get some states that say we want to count for 3 weeks. You have some that say we have to have it in within 3 hours. We have some that say you have to check the signature. Some say you don't have to check the signature. And you get this horrible inconsistency on a federal election because of the state laws. Do I believe January 6th was it? My belief has nothing to do with it. See, it's like people say, do you believe in abortion? No, because it doesn't require my faith. Do I believe January 6th was an insurrection? No, because it doesn't require my faith. My belief has nothing to do with it. Do I know January 6th was an insurrection? No, I don't. Because there hasn't been one charge of insurrection, so no. Words matter. January 6th was an insurrection. An insurrection is an armed conflict, but it depends if you're going from the criminal or legal definition. Now, this is the trick. From a criminal definition, in no way, shape, or form does insurrection and the word apply. From a legal definition, no. No. It is not legally an insurrection in any way, shape, or form. But the literal definition of insurrection is a group of people with ill intent who are trying to overthrow, overcompensate, change, or interfere with federal, state, or local business or authority. Yeah, then in that case, from the literal definition, yeah, it is. But it's not. And we know it's not. The way that the media is using it, of course not. But from a legal definition, no. That's why nobody's been charged with insurrection, because it wasn't. But from a literal definition, it qualifies. If BLM burning down federal buildings, burning down police stations, taking over city businesses, taking over government sectors inside Chaz Chop, if that is an insurrection, which it most certainly was, well, then you have to qualify January 6th as the same from a literal definition. So words matter. Now, do I believe that J6 was anything even close to what the Democrats are doing right now to this election? No, not at all. In fact, I think J6 was stupid. I think it was the dumbest fucking thing Republicans have done ever in the history of Republicans. And this is why we don't riot. This is why we don't do shit like this. Because the left now gets to use that against us and forgive 75 years of rioting and burning crap down whenever things don't go their way and say, oh, well, look at Republicans. Words matter. And it doesn't mean words matter because they hurt your widow feelings. It means words matter because when you say something and you put it out there, there are people who will take it in the literal sense. For instance, Puerto Rico is an island full of floating garbage. You hate all Puerto Ricans. Donald Trump's a Nazi. He hates all Puerto Ricans. It's a joke. It was a joke. The guy's a comedian. I thought we were okay with comedians. I thought late night hosts for the last 9 years have been able to espouse and set public doctrine by lying out of their ass behind the guise of being a joke. See, Pauline, this is the difference between you and I, is that when you say drop boxes are legal. Late night changes, they told us late night changes were coming. Destroying ballots, show me. Show me the proof of that. Show me destroying ballots. Because that's not what happened. Because out of the 64 cases, there were several cases of video of destroying ballots. It's absolutely 100% acceptable for states to destroy ballots. Yes, especially with boxes that were labeled from 10 years prior, because that's the stay of execution for destroying ballots. I watched the cases too. I watched every one of them in every single state. So when you say they destroyed ballots, they did. They just destroyed ballots that were actually boxed and marked 10 years prior. And they have video of it. And the funny thing is that the lady that actually made this case, they showed her the video. I don't remember her name, unfortunately, but I watched it too. And they said, oh, well, look in your video here. And they paused it and they showed each box, and all of them were dated from like 2010, 2005. See, that's not illegal. Actually, that's what happens. They have to hold the ballots for a certain period of time in case the election is contested or there's some sort of major error or discrepancy. So they use that as a stay of record. But they can't keep them for the end of time because paper ballots take up a shit ton of room. So when you say they destroyed ballots, show me. Because I saw the evidence you're talking about and they didn't. Now, were there people who threw away ballots? Of course. Were there people who decided to do stupid things? Of course. It happens on all sides. We're seeing that in my state right now in Virginia, where 1,600 non-U.S. citizens are actually registered to vote. Governor Youngkin went ahead and pushed it through. The federal court assigned by Joe Biden said no. Now it's going to the district court. It's going to go to the state Supreme Court. And there will be an emergency session of the Supreme Court, which will be done not in a session of going into chambers, but it will be actually heard by the Supreme Court representative of the district. And a decision will be made, and more than likely it'll be overturned. I understand. Also in Pennsylvania, there is this scheme going on right now where people by the same handwriting, same type of ballots, same postmark date are filling out ballots, and they're not sure if it's Republican, they're not sure if it's Democrat, but they think this is a very large processes going on in multiple counties in Pennsylvania. I'm aware of it. But see, that's the thing that we all don't understand. We think because one issue or two issues or even 100 issues that are on the small scale ultimately impact 326 or 332 million people, out of which about 160 million vote, that somehow that makes a difference. And it doesn't. Because I've been following elections since I've been this big, and voter fraud most assuredly happens. But at the volume that we're talking about, that is required to flip an entire state, it doesn't happen. Now, there's definite question when you look at the election of 2020. And there's some variables in there that are very strange, which I've already tried to explain, which is mass ballots going out to blue counties. We saw this in Philadelphia. We saw it in Wisconsin. We saw it in Georgia. We saw it in Arizona. And you saw it in Michigan and in Minnesota and Pennsylvania, is that you saw massive counties that did not align with the national average. The national average would see on a high end 60% for Biden, 40% for Trump. On the opposite end, 60% for Trump, 40% for Biden. On average, there was usually about a 4 to 6% swing in most counties across the United States. That was the trend. However, in deep blue counties where they sent out mail-in ballots to these areas, you saw 90-10 splits for Joe Biden. This doesn't happen. This didn't even happen in the 80s with Mondale versus Reagan. It didn't happen when it was Richard Nixon. And you saw, what, a 49-1, 48-2 race that was just an absolute landslide, and you didn't see 90-10 splits in counties. So that irregularity is inundating those areas with a massive amount of ballots during COVID. But this is the problem. This has been the argument all along. It's not about Dominion servers. It's not about water pipes. It's not about watermark ballots. It's why did federal judges and state judges overrule state legislators and state election law due to emergency powers with COVID? Why was the decision made by judges to say we're going to grant executive powers to the state to go ahead and allow changes to state election law without legislative process? That's the question. And this paper trail is there, but people want to make up stories about Dominion servers. And it's like, stop. Just look at the simplest explanation. They were doing this in Michigan. They were doing this in Wisconsin. We saw this during the primary. Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders were in the lead. You saw them destroying Joe Biden. Joe Biden was sucking hind tit. I think he had 3% of the vote. Once they went into the Carolinas and they announced Kamala Harris after he made the comments about black people, they stopped the mass mail-out votes, and it was in-person voting. But in Wisconsin and Michigan, they went to a 100% mail-out ballot vote for primary. First time ever in those two states' history. Look this up. It's right there for you. Democrats saw an amazing turnout from mail-out ballots. COVID hits. What do? They start changing the way, and the lawyers hit these judges and hit the courts and say, people aren't able to vote because we're on lockdown. They can't go stand in line. We don't want them out there spreading COVID. What do? Judges granted powers to go ahead and take voter registrations, to take move-in registrations, to take new signups for local utility bills and water and everything else, and start sending out ballots to these people without a request. Is that illegal? No, because they went through the judges. Should it be illegal? Sure. But none of this matters because this isn't what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the words that we use and the Democrats saying things that are absolutely just incredibly stupid. And I'm asking us not to follow suit. I'm asking us not to follow suit and do the same thing. A lot of people say, I think Trump won the last election. That's fine, but that's not what the numbers say. And do you understand how I understand how unpopular my opinion's been? But you know what's funny is I've been saying it for 4 years, and I'm the only one out there outside of Mark Levin who is now saying it, and now you're hearing it all around the GOP, and you're hearing it all around the states. Even Donald Trump has changed it from stolen election to a lot of bad things took place, or a lot of the way that they did that was incredibly bad or incredibly poor. He's changing his mind because it's not that they stole the election, it's that they manipulated the courts to alter state law, and it's unconstitutional. It's important because words matter. 4 years. 4 years I've sat up here and I've done this. I've done this 100 times. I know it like the back of my hand. But when people make comments, and Pauline, with all respect, I respect your opinion, I do. But when you say drop boxes are everywhere. Late night changes. They told us 3 weeks in advance. They're doing it now. They're telling us some states aren't even going to be in for 3 weeks. Maricopa County is going to say it's not going to be in for 3 weeks, which means Arizona, because as goes Maricopa County, goes the state of Arizona. This is how I predicted the Kari Lake failure, that she was not going to win, even though Charlie Kirk and everyone else told you. Stephen Crowder said that she was going to win the election. And I told you 2 weeks before even a vote was cast from an in-day and in-person voting, I told you she didn't have a chance of winning. And I was right. And I'm telling you now that none of this matters. The only thing that matters, the only thing, is voting. Every single person listening to this or who it has sat by the sidelines needs to vote. I don't care. I'm not in a swing state. I don't care. Because the down ballot is just, is it true when you make a mistake filling out your ballot that they take it and give you a new ballot? I worried that they did with my old ballot. They took it. It can happen, Nanette. And if there's a mistake, you have absolutely every right to ask for a reprint of your ballot. What will happen is that usually a poll captain will come over. They'll take your ballot. They will shred it and destroy it. They usually do that in front of you, or they'll put it in a drop bin. I think the one is, I think the drop bins that they use, it's a burn company. It's something like Iron Mountain. I think it's what it's called, Iron Mountain. And it's secure. Apple uses it. Comcast uses it. Most companies use a burn box like Iron Mountain or a company like that. Anyway, and they'll shred it or they'll burn it in a burn box. You don't see it burnt, but they put it in a box that ultimately goes to burned. But they will destroy the ballot so it's non-discernible or it's non-usable again. And a lot of people are like, well, what if it goes in the trash? And then people, okay, just folks, manipulating ballots is not the easiest thing in the world. And I'll explain that in a second. But usually at that point, they'll reissue and reprint you another ballot. But most people, it's pretty simple. Put the black dot where you want it. Read your ballot. Make sure if you have anything provisional on there or anything that's state or local, make sure you research these things. The great thing is that most places will allow you to step away and research something that maybe you're not understanding. Maybe there's a proposition or a certain bill. You can step away and ask to use your phone and research. There's secure locations that they can go ahead and hold your ballot, let you go ahead and do some research. Say, hey, I'm just not sure. I want to research this before I vote. Can you give me a second? Now, if they're super busy and super crazy, they may hold your ballot at that point and have you go back out of line and come back in again. It just depends on how busy it is. They put it in an envelope with others. That's also true. They can do that too. What they'll do is that they'll have, instead of going to a burn area or a box, they will put them in sometimes they put them in a little, like a basket, or they'll put them in an envelope that says destroy, whatever. But any ballot which is damaged or you accidentally filled it out the wrong way or whatever will be summarily destroyed. That's the way it works. Now, when people are like, well, what happens if they get those ballots and then they go ahead and scan them again and they okay. Every single ballot has to be verified. I know people are like, no, they don't. Yes, they do. Every ballot is verified, and there's several different ways. Now, in the state of Virginia, state of New Mexico, California, and Colorado, pretty much everyone that I've been in has different voting legalese. But in Virginia and in New Mexico and in California, you vote, you take your vote up, and right before you walk out, there's a little, like, it looks like a fax machine, and they scan your barcode, and it goes in, and it looks just like a fax. And then you get a green light. Green light means that it's filled out within its parameters. You're not outside the bubble too far. You don't have a dog ear or a bend on the UPC code. And then it scans and it checks. And then at that point, your voter ID and registry has been updated, and you cannot vote again. You can go to 17 different counties, and your vote's not. You might be able to vote, right? That is possible, but it ain't gonna count. Because the moment that it's run through the system, it's going to reject, and it's going to say, nope, this has been counted before. Now, Matt, how do you know that? Well, because I've run in several different elections in Wyoming. I've lived in 9 different states. I've been involved in the elections in 8 out of 9 of those states. So I've seen the process work, studied it in college. I follow it extensively. I care about the integrity of our elections. Do I believe that there's no fraud? No, that's a stupid thing to say. Do I believe that there's enough fraud to overturn an election? No. Because I don't think you understand the volume of corruption that takes. It's not one person. It's not 300 people. It's not 3,000 people. It's 30, 40,000 people would be absolutely have to be involved and have to remain silent in order for a complete stolen election from a group of states. If you take the 7 swing states in 2020 and you take the amount of people involved, from captains to FBI to district attorneys to actual people who were there voting, to counters, to the district attorney, to the state's attorney, to the Department of Justice, to, local cops, local city officials, eyewitnesses, citizen journalists, judges, jurors, prosecutors, defense attorneys, court reporters, stenographers, city council, county clerks, and you take all those, 40,000 people would have to remain quiet. And guess what? Okay? This is a government that can't keep a secret when Donald Trump has a personal phone call with Zelensky and it's leaked everywhere. You have John Kelly saying that he was saying stuff about Nazis, which we know this isn't true, and that he wanted Nazi generals. We know that's not true. We know that people leak information. There's no way something of this magnitude is possible without complicit participation by tens of thousands of people. And I'm sorry, I worked for the U.S. government. Leaks happen all the time. We couldn't keep a JIC with 16 people out to sea to keep things from leaking. It's just not the way it works. And I understand it's sexy and it's fun and it's fun to go down the rabbit hole and have these nefarious ideas of what happened. But honestly, it makes my show extremely unpopular because I don't participate in that shit. And the reason why I don't participate is because I've done that legwork for you. And if you want to have a conversation about it, there's the number, 804-212-2208. We can talk about it. And you can say, well, Matt, here's this, but I'm going to bore you because every time you say, oh, well, there was this blah, 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 blah in Arizona. And I'll say, okay, great. Well, let me tell you why that wasn't true. And you're going to get mad at me. And you're going to say, oh, well, you're a rhino. You're a Democrat. You're controlled opposition. You're a psyop. And I just laugh. Because the answer of, I'm not liking what I'm hearing isn't that it's not true. It's that you don't like what you're hearing. And that's the problem. And I know that I could, listen, we've had this conversation millions of times. We can get, well, not millions, that's a lie, but thousands of times. I know exactly what it takes to get 1 million viewers. All I got to do is lie to you. All I got to do is stir you up and give you fear. It doesn't work. Brooks Kelly says, MAGA. Right on. I get a copy of the ballot way before voting so I can look up the issues, judges, etc. Absolutely, it's the way to do it. And here's the thing, vote early now. Check your state gov and make sure your vote was counted. And you can see that. Now, it's getting a little close now. So you can early vote now. Don't worry about that. But I would still double check the state registry. Usually that comes back fairly quickly. But if it doesn't, I would still go in on election day and be like, hey, can I vote? But there's early voting taking place right now. We're going this weekend. So take advantage of it. When is your next state-by-state prediction on the election, Matt? We can do that right now. No problem. We had those machines on the res in New Mexico. Yes, yeah. All right, so let's do it. Let's do state-by-state right now. You guys want to do that? Let's do that. And then we can get to, the Nazi rally. Dude, they need to stop. I'm so tired of this. Let's see. Sorry, I didn't want to get into a 2020 talk, but it's still on people's minds, man. People are thinking about it, and I understand. I understand why you're scared. I understand why you're fearful. I understand why you're like, there's something wrong here. I'm with you. I really am. Guys, I'm not stupid. I see what's happening. But there are reasons for what's happening too, okay? There's reasons. And it doesn't mean that there's not cheating going on. Of course there's cheating going on. That's the way this is just the way it is. They will get away, both sides. What they can't stop is Republicans turning out en masse and tracking their vote. And that's what's happening. I mean, some of these numbers that you're going to see are going to blow you away, because there is a very large contingency of Republicans who are voting early. That's a great question. We'll talk about Rogan. Tori, don't let me forget, okay? Let's do this first. All right, so let's go through. I'm not subscribing. Piss off. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. So this is why CNN, this is why nobody likes you. I'm just letting you know. Shit like this. You got to pay to go ahead and participate. You know what? Pardon my French. Fuck you. No, I don't. I'll go to ABC because ABC sucks, but ABC has a good map. All right. Let's take a look at it. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going down to the key races too. And we'll be talking about both. But as of right now, we'll just do this. So this is pretty cool. So this is the 538 forecast. So it's an interactive electoral map. And it will show you, based upon current trends and predictions, where they anticipate it going. Now, you can change things, and you can see that the way that this map works is that it's designed to not give you a full account of what they think. They're giving you that these states are toss-ups. Wisconsin, Michigan, PA, and Nevada. And because of that, you've got a 262 to 226 run right here. Hold on. I got to check donations. I didn't do that. I don't think we're going to be in a huge spot tonight, but it's early in the morning and not a lot of people are here. All right. So it's not early, but you get my point. Let me put this in real quick. Then we can do this. And then I got to show you some videos, because you got to look at this this New York thing, man. It's pathetic with Madison Square Garden. It's absolutely pathetic. All right. Let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll look at this. Alrighty then, there we go. And we'll put in Matt. Sorry, Livia's not here, folks. It's kind of hard in the AM. I need to get an intern. Thank you, Matt, for the donation. We appreciate it. All right, so let's take a look at the map. You've got Alabama, solid red. Yep, that's not changing. Alaska, it's not changing. Arizona is, you see how it's got that dark color? That's really not going anywhere. Arizona, I believe Arizona is going to flip back to red. Truly. California, it's going to stay Democrat, solid. Colorado, Democrat, solid. Connecticut, solid. Delaware, solid. District of Columbia, solid. Florida, red. Georgia, I'm giving it red. I love how they have Florida as tentative. It's not tentative. Hawaii will stay. Idaho, red. Illinois, blue. Indiana, red. Iowa, red. Kansas, red. Kentucky, red. Louisiana, red. Maine, as this tentative blue. It's not tentative. It'll split, and it always splits. And it's going to go to the reason Maine has partial votes based upon their state legislatures and their overall state electorate. So you're going to see 1-2 votes. You're going to see a 2-1-1 in Maine, and then in Nebraska, you're going to see a 2-1-1-1. So there's a total of 5 in Nebraska, and there's a total of 4 in Maine. Usually what happens is you see 2-3 votes go blue, and then 1, and then they negate themselves here in Nebraska with 3 votes and 1. Or 4 votes and 1, which go red. So they negate each other, and essentially one electoral vote goes to the GOP. That's the way you need to look at it. Now, the GOP tried to do this and take that vote out and combine, but they didn't do it in this election. Anticipate in 2028 that Nebraska will be a solid 5 electoral votes like everyone else. Anticipate that. But as of right now, this is where it's at. Okay. So Maine is not in play, being a less of a blue color. Maryland, blue, that's not going to change. Massachusetts, blue, is not going to change. Michigan is a toss-up. That's purple. We'll get to that in a second. Minnesota is blue, and it's pretty much showing solid blue. Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska District 1, Nebraska District 2. There's that one single vote I told you about. And then Nebraska District 3 is 1 vote. Nevada showing as a toss-up. We'll talk about that in a second. New Hampshire is showing tentative blue. Why is it showing tentative blue? Well, because Nikki Haley kicked ass in New Hampshire. And this is where I said, hey, we need to make sure that we get Nikki Haley on the ticket or in the administration. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen right now. There is huge opposition to Nikki Haley. This is stupid of the GOP. She got 21% of the vote nationally. She would have been a huge poll for Donald Trump and ultimately could cost him the election because it's going to hurt him with women. I've said for 4 years that Nikki Haley needed to be on the ticket or Ron DeSantis. I still hold that testament. And anyone who disagrees with me, I'll just simply say 21%. J.D. Vance didn't have 21%. Tim Walz didn't have 21%. Dan Quayle didn't have 21%. Sarah Palin didn't have 21%. Joe Biden didn't have 21%. Al Gore didn't have 21%. Bush Sr. didn't have 21%. Gerald Ford didn't have 21%. So you have a candidate who has 21% of the vote and you don't put her on the ticket? Why? Well, I'll lose my alt-right base. You already lost your alt-right base because they think you're a Jew lover. I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but the alt-right I've been warning you about for 4 years, they hate Jews. And they're all acting like it. Take a look at Nick Fuentes. How's he doing? Take a look at Jake Shields. Look at Stu Peters. Look at the alt-right and look at the anti-Semites just come out of the woodwork. They're all over the place. And one of the biggest trends on Twitter right now is just to hate Jews. It's huge. It's a moneymaker. Candace Owens dove into it and started hating on the Jews and reporting on World War II and minimizing the Holocaust. You didn't see this? She did it for about a month, and then she realized that she was getting absolutely pigeonholed, and she started moving away from it. But she started becoming anti-Trump and anti-big establishment and started believing in the Zionist movement and all this shit. It's big money. So you've got a situation here in New Hampshire, and people are like, never Nikki Haley, never Nikki Haley. Okay, whatever. I don't care. If it wins Donald Trump the election, who gives a crap? The vice president is a marginalized position, and the only time that it matters is in the election. That's it. So anyway, New Hampshire had a real chance for this, and that would have changed the face of the election. But it's probably going to be this. But it doesn't mean that New Hampshire can't flip. I'm telling you, there is some rumblings, especially with what will happen in New York and New Jersey in 2022 with the midterms. It looks like this Northeast, just absolute conglomerate, very similar to the southern states, has vulnerabilities. And if anyone is going to fall, I've said this the whole election, it's going to be New Hampshire. If there's going to be a big flip, New Hampshire's a possibility. Now, I want to tell you about something else. Let's hold on to that, okay? You know what? Let's leave that. It won't let me. No. Let's just leave that blue. New Jersey, blue. New Mexico, toss up. New York. New York's not going red. I understand what we've seen, and I think New York's going to have the Senate and the House will fall and die in New York. And I believe that based upon what we saw in 2022 and the seats that were flipped in New York is that people are sick of it. Eric Adams may very well come out and support Trump. I would be shocked if you don't see Eric Adams come out and soft support Trump. In denying that the Madison Square Garden rally was a Nazi rally, he might come out and say something like that. For some reason, I think Eric Adams has a part to play in this election. I don't know what it is. But something is telling me that Eric Adams has a part to play in this election still. And I know he's a Democrat. And I know he's got charges. But I also know that he was anti-sanctuary state. And I know he's pushed up against the Democrats. And I know he feels pigeonholed. And I know during the Al Smith dinner, Donald Trump defended him. For some reason, I just feel that Eric Adams is going to hedge his bets because he knows that if he gets held accountable for this and Donald Trump wins, that Donald Trump will completely pardon him. Something just makes me feel that Eric Adams has a part to play. So if he does, that'll be huge. If Eric Adams comes out and as a mayor and says, you know what, that rally was not a Nazi rally. This is ridiculous. Democrats need to stop. That will go so far. Maybe consider that might happen. Just consider it. And if it does, that would have a huge impact. It's not going to win him New York. The chances of him winning New York are like Democrats winning Texas. Okay? Now, they have Texas in dark red because they believe that there's some vulnerability. No. Not a chance. Not a chance. Texas, if Texas goes blue, we're done. We'll never win another election again. Like, if you see Texas go blue, it's over. It's just over. That will mean that Democrats have unfettered access. They have the two largest states in the union. They have more state legislature, more power, more dollars, more fiscal responsibility, the largest militaries, the largest populations. It's over. And if Texas goes, so goes the South. And then Republicans will never win again. That's just it. That is a shift that cannot take place. The one thing of the ebbs and flows, even in elections that were landslides with Nixon and with Reagan, is that they were change elections, and that's different. But if you have Texas flip and the rest of the South doesn't, then that is a sign of a shift in a state voting and a voter base. If you see 42 to 8 in this election, that's a change election. That's different. Change elections happened with Obama. Change elections happened with Nixon. Change elections happened with Reagan. And states that you would not anticipate flipped, but a lot of states flipped. If you see just Texas flip in this election and everything else remains the same, then we're cooked. Because it'll be generational change coming out of Texas. That's something we do not want. Amy says, Democrats use Nazi rhetoric. The right does too. How? Who? Who on the national media is using Nazi rhetoric? Can you tell me? Because I can understand some idiots on Facebook, but if you're telling me there's a national platform where we're calling the Democrats Nazis, please give me an example, Amy. And I need more than one example. I need coming out of the Trump campaign, the GOP, or Fox News. Give me a major example of us calling Democrats Nazis. I'd like to see that. I haven't seen it. I'm interested. Let's keep going. Pennsylvania toss-up, Oregon. Now, hey, Oregon, I'm just letting you know, it's like Virginia. There are signs that the rural population in Oregon has been ignited, and they're voting. This could be enough to make a huge impact. Oregon has been on the precipice of change. They do not like they do not like what's happening in Oregon. Oregon are Pacific Northwesterners. They are Yes, they're very granola and outdoor and nature, but they're classic liberals. They don't like this left progressive shit. They're not fans. And the reason why is most people up in Idaho, Montana, Washington, Oregon, and even some parts of Northern California have a lot of Russian influence. And they feel the stress that's happened from Russian influence coming from Canada, Western Canada, into those areas. They're not big fans. And they don't like progressive policies. Although there are I'm aware of what's happened in Oregon. Thank you very much. I'm aware. But that is not the entire state. Just like Dallas and El Paso and Houston are not the entire state of Texas. Oregon is an interesting one to watch. I don't think it flips this election, but I would be surprised if Oregon isn't red within the next 2 elections. Just watch. South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia. Virginia is interesting. Virginia, I'm going to show you a graphic. And I don't think you're going to see this in other places. Thank you, Amy, for the donation. I appreciate you for doing that. I know it's a little slow this morning, folks. It's okay. Nobody knew we were going to be on. The evening show is where it's at, but that's okay. We're going to keep this going and try to get our AM shows going. Amy, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. This is what I wanted to show you on Virginia. This is really good news. And I was going to show this tonight, and I'm still going to. But this is why I've been so bullish on Virginia. And everyone's like, well, Matt, Virginia's not looking good. Hold on a second now. I want you to take a look here. In 2021, 60% of the early votes to 30% to 10%. So you saw a 60-30-10 split. Unknown votes, 10% in Virginia. This is early voting. 60% were Democrat, 30% were Republican. Take a look at 2022. 61% went up for Democrats, went up a little bit, and unknowns went down. You still saw like a 62-32-7. Look at 2023, 55%. What's happening is that Democrats have been going down. Democrats are going down in their early voting. Why? Let me pull this up. Democrats are going down in their early voting. Take a look here in 2023, 55%. You're talking now almost a 6% drop. But look at the turnout here, almost an 8% drop. The unknown voters are swinging to the GOP. And you see an 8% increase in a 2-year span, and you're seeing a 5% increase, and they're not coming to an independent, they're coming over to the GOP. Then look at here, this will just blow you the F away. In 2024, so far, early person voting, 16 days before the election, 45%, 46% for Republicans. Republicans are showing out in droves in Virginia. And this is not eating, and 8% are unknown. This is not eating into same-day voting numbers. So the message across the country is everyone's like, oh my God, man, this is the biggest voter turnout ever. And early voting is a Democrat thing, so therefore Democrats are going to win the election. Everyone needs to cool your tits. Amy says, that's what I meant when I said they both use Nazi rhetoric. I don't know what that means. I don't see the right using Nazi rhetoric at all. Sorry. I hear communism. I hear progressive. But see, the difference between communism and progressive is they're talking about their politics. They're talking about censorship. They're talking about big government. They're talking about totalitarianism. They're not talking about mass executing people. That's what the fucking left is talking about. The left believes that we're actually Nazis and we're going to round people up and going to go ahead and kill them. This is how stupid the left is. We're using it in political discourse. They're using it in some sort of fundamental or theological way that we're going to purify the country of illegal immigrants and Puerto Ricans and Haitians because we're Nazis. This shit is so far-fetched. But anyway, the point is those numbers in Virginia are huge. And to see early voting out here in Virginia, I've spoken to hundreds of people in Virginia, and everyone's like, I've already voted. And this is not what I heard in 2020, and this is not what I heard in midterms. I haven't seen a push like this in Virginia in a while. So Virginia is a possibility. So I want you to consider that it doesn't mean that Virginia isn't a possibility. It just means that right now the tea leaves and the polling is saying, but they heavily poll Democrats in Virginia. I'm still trying to figure out. Michelle says, yes, you are both right. I don't understand. When the right uses demon rats and the left says MAGA T. Oh, okay. Well, those are idiots. See, idiots are on both sides. I'm talking about like a national platform calling us Nazis. That is happening. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Amy. Okay. But demon rats and MAGA T are just stupid idiots. And those people they're idiots. On both sides. Every time someone goes demon rats, I'm like, this is the dumbest, most trivial. This is so stupid. This is like calling somebody a macaroni head. You're a boo-boo bumper bunny. It's just childish. You're a demon rat. You're an idiot. You're a libtard. You're a maggot. Okay. I don't get people. I don't consider that to be the national stage. I consider that to be a bunch of YouTubers and TikTokers and Facebook morons who are intellectually a stump. So I don't know. I'm talking about national platform. Like the DNC has a national platform that Trump supporters are now Nazis. Every one of us. Anyone who votes for Trump is a Nazi. They have officially come out and said that. That is a national policy. The president called us vice president of the United States called us fascist. Joe Biden called us fascist. They said last night's rally was a dog whistle. They didn't even say dog whistle. They are saying it was a Nazi rally. They officially are saying that the 20,000 people who were there at MSG and the 60 some odd thousand to 80,000 phones that were pinged by GPS, over almost 100,000 people are Nazis. That's what they're saying. Yeah, I don't hear anyone in the GOP saying that. I don't hear any major news publication saying that the entire Democrat Party are communists. That they are dictators, communists. Now, you can have communist policies, and the funny thing is that if you look at the Democratic Party policies, they align with the Nazis more than the GOP. Nazis believed in unified health care. Nazis believed in subsidized pay. They believed in an increased minimum wage. They believed in extended family time. They believed in elderly care. They believed in government subsidies. Nazis believed in all sorts of things like that. Don't know. But I'm not painting them with that brush. All right, so let's finish the map. So predictions. Nevada goes red. New Mexico, Colorado, not a chance. Stays blue. And these are dark blue. These are strongholds. They're saying North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina is not going blue. Virginia is showing a dark blue. They're saying it's a stronghold. I don't know. That's what I see. That's what I see. 312 to 226 with a possibility, a slight possibility of that. 325 to 213. But I think Virginia stays blue. I think they went with Youngkin. They've got Youngkin where they want him. Youngkin can only serve one term here. He can't serve consecutive terms. So he has to leave for 4 and then he can come back and vote again. I think Wisconsin and Michigan are a little dodgy. But even there, he still wins. Even if they keep this the same, even if they keep the blue wall the same, Pennsylvania's, I don't see Pennsylvania going to Kamala. I just don't. I live right here. I'm right fucking here. Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, D.C., I'm in the middle of it. Right in the middle of it. I don't think Pennsylvania goes. I don't think it goes blue. I think it goes red. I think she's lost. No. And if that takes place, the election's over. 287 to 251. But this is the map that because here's the reason why, is because in the history of U.S. politics, never have the swing states split. They just don't split. That's not the way. They might get one or two, but never is it 50-50. It's always kind of a winner-take-all thing. If there's 7 swing states, it's like a 5-2. If there's 4 swing states, it's a 3-1. If there's 5, it's a 4-2. Or math is hard. It's a 4-1. It doesn't split. But that's why I'm saying this. But honestly, if it goes this, then don't be shocked if you see something like that. Don't be shocked if you see New Hampshire. Don't be shocked if you see something like that. What I don't think is you're not going to see that. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see this. You're not going to see that. But the funny thing is, this is what's hilarious. I mean, this is insane. Even with Texas, he still wins. If he takes Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, keeps North Carolina, keeps Arizona, Nevada, and takes Texas, he still wins. 266 to 272. That is showing you how much Trump has eaten into the Democrat stronghold. 40-point state. He loses Texas and still wins. That's how important Pennsylvania is. So when everyone's like, Texas, even if they take Texas, he still wins in this model. But I will tell you, if he takes Texas, it is very, very unlikely that he takes Arizona. And he takes Nevada. And then this race is over. This is why they want Texas so bad. Because it literally creates the shift that's taking place in the northern states and the Northeast. It then creates a wall in the South, the Southwest. But that ain't going to fucking happen. So relax. That's the map. Yeah, our odds look... She has a very slim path to victory. It's very slim the way things are going. Like I said, even give her this, boom, boom, he still wins. 287, 251. Okay, so do this. Give him this, and he loses Pennsylvania. He still wins. Okay? Now give him all 3. He wins. So do this. Oh, now he loses. But she would have to take Wisconsin. But then she's taken all the swing states, right? And that's not the way this works. Right now, the numbers are saying that this is going to be Michigan and Wisconsin are going to be close. I think it's very possible that he doesn't win Wisconsin and Wisconsin. Wisconsin and Wisconsin, folks. I love the Michigan Wolverines. The Wisconsin Wolverines, I love them, and they're amazing. And the Michigan Badgers, they're the best. Son of a bitch. So that's what I see. It's possible that Wisconsin and Michigan don't go. I think she's gonna have a hard time winning Michigan. She really is. The auto workers, the unions, they're not very happy with her. And abortion is not the biggest concern for Michigan. But even if this takes place, now, does he win on election night? No, because the West Coast is going to have to come in. And these 2 states are going to be, they suck. Pardon my French. They don't count. So what you do is you do this. Now it's 268 to 270. It's too close to call. Right? It's too close to call. But that is where that New Hampshire from Nikki Haley, look at folks, see that? Boom. That's what I tried to show you. Look at that. 274, but he wins at 270, even if this happens. But they won't call it because something could happen, like Utah could fall and then she wins. Idaho's not going to fall. But Oregon could. I'm just letting you know, Oregon, I'm watching Oregon big time. I don't know why. Something in my... Something's telling me. But this is more likely possibly that or that. But it's really, it comes down to this. This would be an anomaly. This would be a complete anomaly. Is her to win Michigan? What the fuck? Michigan and Wisconsin. Michigan? The first time was funny. Second time means I've got to get my head examined. Maybe I need to. Can I get the Joe Biden cocktail over here, please? Michigan and Wisconsin. Can I get the cocktail, please? So this would be highly irregular. Why? Because she takes swing state, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. He takes Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Arizona, New Mexico, and Georgia. That's a split. It really essentially is a split. It's a 4-3. That doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So when it comes to swing states, she may pick up one, but it looks very good for Donald Trump right now. So like I said to people, yeah, I called New Hampshire how long ago? New Hampshire's vulnerable. I've told you New Hampshire's vulnerable. New Hampshire very well could. If he had Nikki Haley, this is what it would look like. He would win New Hampshire. He would win Minnesota. He would win Virginia. And it would be a rout. 199 to 339. That's if Nikki Haley was on board. And probably would flip Oregon, just to be honest, because that's Oregon's abortion. And Nikki Haley's abortion policy wins him New Hampshire, wins him Virginia, wins him Oregon. It would be a rout. 347 to 191 if Nikki Haley was on the ticket. It would be devastating. And New York very well could go too. Nikki Haley is very popular up in the Northeast. I mean, you just don't know what would happen, but it's not going to happen because he didn't take her. But New Hampshire is still in play. New Hampshire is absolutely still in play. Michigan and Wisconsin. I'm going to make that shirt. So the thing is this. This is what the numbers show. It can change. Of course it can change. But that doesn't mean it will. With this many days to go, you have a lot of people who've already cast their vote. Folks, if you have not had a chance, you like the coverage that we have, thedumshow.com/donate. You can donate to The Dumb Show. Keeps us going, keeps us free, and keeps us online. I want to dive into this. This is important. There was an event this weekend. First of all, I watched the Joe Rogan and Donald Trump podcast, and it was fantastic. Of course, there were some things that Donald Trump got wrong. Lincoln's kid. The last week of Oprah. Donald Trump, listen, man, the guy works his butt off. He's up all day, all night. He can get tired. Give me a break. Be nice. You know, for once in your life, liberals. It's not even close to Kamala and that soup sandwich. Give me a break. Robbie Medlin says hello. Hi, Robbie. Excuse me. See, I'll even say hi to Robbie. You're here. Robbie. Hello. There, see? I got my allergies are killing me in the morning. That's the one thing. I feel like I sound like Kamala Harris. Oh my God, they're losing it. This is Mika Smarafov. I can't stand this woman. Listen, there's some punishments I believe people deserve in life. Like some people deserve prison. Some people just, deserve to remain unhappy and unmarried. This lady needs her head shaved. Like, I just want to go ahead and just put one line straight down her head. And I don't know why. I just think it would be satisfying in so many different ways. Listen to this shit. This is a news agency. And I'm going to show you several different reports. Listen to this crap.
I think a lot of people are seeing that rally at Madison Square Garden, seeing all those people. Doesn't mean he's going to win the race.
Oh, okay. So we went from Donald Trump can't pack the Senate. You're just pissed off because Donald Trump can pack Madison. What the fuck is wrong with me this morning? I'm usually the pronunciation king. I'm having a bad morning. I need more coffee. Hold on. Madison Square Garden, folks. It's the allergies. They're killing me. All right, Madison Square Garden. They're just pissed off because he can fill Madison Square Garden without Beyonce. Without Beyonce. That's all. And Beyonce didn't even sing. Do you know how pissed off people were? They all were going there for a free. First of all, Beyonce's a piece of shit. She's horrible to her fans. She was so big in Houston when I lived there. And I'm just like, she's crap. If you want to put a ring on it, if you like it, oh God, spastic, man. I can't stand Beyonce. Despise that woman. Then her boy toy goes and buys, $10 million worth of her country single release, so she gets #1 on the charts. I can't stand Beyonce. Destiny's Child. Ugh. Make me sick. Stand during the national anthem, you fascist cow. Anyway, she didn't even perform. Giant 1980s hair and all in her pantsuit, her Hillary Clinton pantsuit. Went in there, hugged Kamala, and just bailed on her. Just left. See ya. Can you sing the national anthem? No, we don't do that here. We don't sing the national anthem. So she's just pissed off because Donald Trump sold out MSG.
But my point is, it's discouraging that so many people would gather and rally to hate speech in America.
Michelle, I will not slow my speech. You have no idea how slow I talk compared to how I used to. I've slowed my speech as slow as it's going to go. But yeah, I'm just tired. I'm usually my mornings are usually I'm writing. I'm doing articles for the show. I'm writing my recorded show. I'm not engaging with the public. So I just need to get back in the swing. I'm up early. I'm not using the verbal skills this early usually. So it's not about slowing down. It's about getting used to this.
That it's discouraging and it hurts.
It hurts. It hurts. But it's sexy. Sexy. I think you're very interesting too. It hurts. Where does it hurt? Show me on the doll where daddy hurt you. Show me on the bag of coffee where Donald Trump hurt you.
That people who have family in Puerto Rico who are Puerto Rican Americans.
They're so sad. You know what? Puerto Ricans they're used to getting made fun of. Sorry. Give me a break. A Mexican, a Cuban, and a Puerto Rican walk into a bar. That's like the start of every other joke if it's not a Jew, a Catholic priest, and a Muslim walk into a bar. Give me a break. I think Puerto Ricans can handle it. I'm pretty sure Puerto Ricans can handle a joke. He's a stand-up comic. If you guys can call... Puerto Ricans care about making a joke about their island, but you call half of America Nazis, and we cross the line. Oh, you cross the line, Puerto Ricans. Oh, the pain, it hurts so bad, Daddy.
Who are American citizens are hearing hate like that. It's discouraging, Joe. And I do want to show Michelle Obama and Kalamazoo, but I just think it's important to look at the situation.
That's your husband. Can you imagine if Olivia and I talked to each other that way? Like, all of a sudden, Olivia's like, oh, the pain and suffering that Puerto Ricans are feeling. Matt, what do you... I'd look over and go, we live together. What mystery are you trying to... Everyone already knows. We're married. Why are you pretending that we didn't have this conversation earlier? I just will not put on those airs. That's why Olivia and I, we do well together. And some people go, oh, Matt, you're so mean to Olivia. What? Olivia and I have a great relationship, and it's one where she tolerates me, and trust me, I tolerate her. But what we will not do is pretend, well, Joe, can you, what are your thoughts on this Puerto Rican? Well, I don't know. When you guys were doing the beast with two backs this morning, what was your overall thoughts? Why don't you just say this? You know what? I know Joe agrees with me. We talked about it this morning over breakfast. Yeah, Mika, we did talk about it. Here, I just want to expand on your thoughts. Something that we talked about this morning that we didn't cover. How about you be original? But why are you pretending like you guys aren't married? Give me a break.
And it's not just, oh my gosh, about the race. It's, oh my gosh, How did we get here?
Oh, how did we get here? How did we get here with this? These people are making fun of Puerto Ricans. No, you're upset because there's 450,000 people in Pennsylvania who are Puerto Rican. There's 90,000 in Michigan. You think this is going to help your voter base? Puerto Ricans don't give a shit. Puerto Ricans are completely okay with being the brunt of jokes. Why? Because the same reason Jews are, and blacks are, and gays are, and whites are. It's a joke. It's a funny hot. Now, was it a good joke? No, it's stupid. It was just, I'm going to play it. It was a dumb joke. But it's still a joke. And you guys sitting here and going, oh my God, do you remember when like the Nazis rounded up all the Puerto Ricans? No, because it didn't fucking happen. They didn't round up Puerto Ricans. South Americans from Buenos Aires, okay, maybe. But not Puerto Ricans. Give me a break.
How did we get here?
Now, for the people who are going to fact check me and say, oh my God, in 1940, oh my God, there was 2 Puerto Ricans who were gassed. And oh, you insensitive asshole.
Where a stadium of people come to hate. That's a different country, a different time.
Oh, yes, it is a different country, even though it was in New York and you're referring to 1939. So it wasn't a different country, but certainly was a different time. Good job, Mika. Check your Rolex. I'm sure you can see that different time because it's a $40,000 wristwatch.
You know how you get past that?
How do you get past?
Vote for Trump. So we have to stop listening to these proverbial pussies for the rest of our lives.
What's that?
Work harder, vote.
Work harder. That's the key. Let's get off. So you hate people on welfare. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Racist comments from Joe and Mika in the morning. Good morning, cup of Joe coffee stuff. By the way, if you like coffee, you can go buy the Don't Unfriend Me brand right here at the FJB and the mother of all brews over at thedumshow.com. And we heard it right here that he says that we need to work and get off welfare. So all you freeloaders out there, all you WIC moms, all you people getting a government check, get your ass up and work, you lazy mother humpers.
And win. That's how you get past it.
Dude, these guys are so fun. Yes. 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 Oh my God. Yes. I have a feeling she doesn't say yes a lot in her relationship with Joe. Joe looks like he catches. I'm just saying. I have a feeling, and I don't mean to be graphic, but I think a strap-on is definitely in their relationship, and Joe catches.
What's that?
Work harder.
Yes.
Vote.
Yes.
And win. That's how you get past it.
Yes. Give me a break. Here's another one. This is so good. It's I love people hold their hands like this. So it should be like this. I don't know what this is. What are you doing, dude? Why don't you do the Kamala's this? Remember when she was looking at Trump like, here he is. Listen to this. Listen to this douche plow. Dude, it was like 60 degrees. What are you doing wearing a full freaking double-breasted, feather-down parka? Come on.
I'm in front of Madison Square Garden here in New York City. There's a massive crowd waiting to get in.
Massive crowd. Remember that, massive crowd, because they're going to make fun of the crowd size later. But it's a massive crowd. Yeah, because it was like tens of thousands of people.
And there's a real air of menace here. This is not a joyful crowd by and large. There was a huge sea of pardon Trump signs that we saw earlier. And I think that's part of the message tonight. This is a hedge. This is not a campaign or a candidate that is confident about winning. This is a campaign and a candidate that is appealing to the most extreme elements of his base so that in the event of a loss.
Oh my God, listen to those people behind them. They're talking. It sounds like a group of people who are plotting and conspiring on how to kill Jews. Shh. Be very, very quiet. We've got Nazi Jew hunters in the audience. I'm looking for those wascally Jews. Where are they? They're in the audience with them, along with Puerto Ricans and blacks and rabbis and ministers, Protestants, Catholics, Jews, Gentiles, Arabs, Poles, white people. Are the Nazis in the room with us right now? What a douche. Dude, talk about a guy who's just... Dude, show me the Nazi flags. Show me the book burnings. Show me the gas chambers. Show me the rail cars. No? Then they're not fucking Nazis. Okay? Great. Thanks.
They can take their fight to the streets. This is a continuation of that appeal to the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by.
Stand back and stand by. Truer words have never been spoken. Stand back and stand by. It doesn't matter what. Trump could have said, Proud Boys, go fuck yourself. And you guys still would have been like, it's a dog whistle. He wants him to rape people.
And there's no doubt that this venue was chosen for a reason. Do me a favor, Google Madison Square Garden, 1939.
Oh my God. And then while you're at it, go ahead and Google John F. Kennedy, 1962. Go ahead and do Bill Clinton, 1994. Do Democratic National Convention 4 different times. Oh yeah, do the Catholic, that Jew hater, Al Smith, who was a Democrat. Do that too. Oh my God, all Nazi rallies, all Democrats. This is huge. I'm so sick of these I can't stand 4 more years of this. Like, people don't want me to cuss. How am I supposed to not cuss? I can't stand this anymore. I don't understand how Ben Shapiro does it. I don't understand how these guys do it and they don't cuss. Joe Rogan was dropping F-bombs left and right during Trump. He's got 97 million followers. I think I can fucking cuss. I'm done. I can't How? How do you expect me not to drop bombs when I have morons like this? Just a panty waste of a man. A puffy white guy who hates his fragility, who literally apologizes every chance he gets to his wife for watching football. I'm sorry, honey. Was I manspreading there? Let me close my legs. I'm sorry. I'm so insensitive. I didn't mean to show you my genitalia through my pants and my underwear that aren't showing. Honey, what would you like for dinner? Oh, I don't know. Maybe taco. I'm sorry. Did I mansplain to you about tacos and steak I'm so sorry, honey. I'm so insensitive. Can I go do the dishes and make you more comfortable? Jeez Louise, where are men? Can we have men come back? Dude, they're standing in line. They're just waiting to get in. You're telling me the New York Rangers have 41 Nazi rallies a fucking year? Oh my God, the Rangers, they can't win a cup, but they can go ahead and be the Third Reich. The New York fucking Rangers with people like Gonzalez and Shesterkin on their team. Really? A guy that sounds like a Street Fighter move. Shesterkin, how you can... Nazis. All of them. Herb Brooks, the Jew, Nazi. He's a fucking Nazi. Herb Brooks, fuck Herb Brooks. He was a Nazi Jew. A Nazi Jew. The New York Rangers, folks, the Statue of Liberty, the red, white, and blue, the hockey team of hockey teams, one of the original 6. Nazis. 41 times a year, they hold a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden. 41 times. Who knew? Who knew? Give me a break. It's so stupid. Who buys this? I thought this was the party of education. I thought this was the party that we're supposed to be smart. I thought that we're the party of education. We all have our degrees, liberal arts, yeehaw, women, gender studies. I thought you guys were smart. Who buys this shit? How does this fucking asshole have 241,000 views on his video? But I do a long form video that breaks down why the Democratic Party is one of the most racist parties ever in U.S. history. I give you every bit of fact. I give you timeline. I give you sources. I quote, I cite source, and I get 12 views on it. This is the shit that makes people quit this shit. You put up a cat video and it gets 1 million too, but I put up a video that shows you a DOD document that says that the government can use lethal force against people if the local government finds it necessary and request military intervention against citizens. And you guys are just like, well, it's too long. I don't want to read that. But we can put up 2 cats humping each other in springtime and it gets 1.5 million views. Give me how? How? Just make me explain it. Make me explain it so it doesn't make sense anymore. Come into my brain, give me some of that liberal smarts and help me understand and make me more educated because I don't get it. I don't understand. Folks, donate to the Don't Unfriend Me show so I can get more beer. Here's the joke from Puerto Rico.
On his head? What the hell is that? All right.
This guy is a comedian. Whether he's good or not is open for debate. But what you don't do is put that on the national news. What you do is you put that in Yelp. Or you go to his website and you downgrade him to 1 star. Or you go to Cameo and you shit on his profile. Not this.
Heck yeah, it's a cool black guy with a thing on his head. What the hell is that? A lampshade? Look at this guy. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm just kidding. That's one of my buddies. He had a Halloween party last night. We had fun. We carved watermelons together. It was awesome. Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies, too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country. All right. Heck yeah. It's a cool black guy with...
Okay. Are you ready? Yeah, it wasn't funny. You're stupid. And like anybody who wears a tie and does comedy, in my opinion, pretty much sucks. I can't think of a great comedy, except for Bill Cosby. But he raped a lot of girls. So I once again, you got to take good with the bad. I don't find him funny. Everyone's like, oh, he's amazing. I listened to his podcast. He's shit. I think he was horrible. Racial jokes are funny when they're actually funny. But you got to make them funny. And you've got to set up the crowd. And you need to do some self-deprecating humor. And you need to do some white humor. Make fun of white people. Make fun of Jews. Make fun of yourself. Okay? Like I'd make fun of the military. I'd make fun of white guys. And I'd make fun of hockey. Okay? Loosen it up a little bit. Show how you can laugh. Then you can say, what are 10 million black people jumping out of planes in the middle of the day? Yeah, I don't know. Night. Ha ha. But a bumpsh. Great. Funny joke. But to make a joke and try to tie it to political platforms and make it funny, you come off as stupid. And honestly, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. Yeah, we understand black people, grape soda, chicken, and watermelon. Ha 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 ha, funny. Okay, but not funny. Not good. This is stupid. So does that mean that Donald Trump believes all that? No. Donald Trump doesn't even know this fucking guy. I don't even know if Donald Trump was even in the building at this time. Listen, Eddie Murphy made one of the greatest skits about Mr. T having forced sex with a straight guy, and it was funny. He talked about a turd in a bathtub. And then the big brown shark came, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, G.I. Joe swimming in the water. Funny. It's wonderful. Bill Burr talks about when it's okay to hit a woman. And it's funny. Bill Cosby talked about doing cocaine and having kids and natural childbirth. Push, push. Funny. Andrew Dice Clay, hickory dickory dock. Jack and Jill went up the hill, both with $1.25. Jill came down with $2.50. What a fucking hoe! It's funny. It's great. Sam Kinison. Africa. Hold his sandwich away from the starving kid. You know? Make him look sad. I'm Sally Struthers, and for $1.12 a day, you can feed an African child. Don't give him that sandwich. You want some? Say, cry. Look sad. Look sadder. Nothing grows in a desert. It's a fucking desert. Come on, man. It's funny. That's not funny. And I'm sure somebody's like, well, some of it was funny. Yeah, but that isn't funny. And all you're doing at a political rally, and listen, You stand up there and you set the premise. I'm going to say some things that are really going to offend you. It's going to be okay. And the best comics in the world will say a joke like that, will make the watermelon joke, carving watermelons, and be like, oh, come on, I told you it was going to be bad. They'll do something to ease the crowd into the process. Nobody was laughing. Now, they may have laughed at some of the other jokes, but all you're doing is giving the liberals cannon fodder to say this is a Nazi rally. Once again. But nobody cared about this.
And George Lopez said, Donald Trump.
Nobody seems to be upset with a Mexican Hagrid who looks like he just went to work for Marcellus Wallace. Mexican Hagrid is a hitman for Marcellus Wallace. That's what he looks like. Now, is that racist? Mine was funnier than that guy. I mean, the fact that I came up with Mexican Hagrid who works for Marcellus Wallace, that's pretty good. I think it was great. I think it was hilarious. But this won't be, nobody cares about this. This isn't racist. I don't know. Listen.
Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall. And George Lopez said, you better build it in one day because if you leave that material out there overnight.
That's not racist. Where's the outrage from the media? Why isn't everyone up in arms in that? Why isn't everyone upset there? Well, because George Lopez is Mexican and he can make fun of Mexicans. He can degrade Mexicans. Real simple. He can. Why? Because he's in the in club. So what you're saying is it's not that it's not okay to make fun of Mexicans or Puerto Ricans. Same thing. Joke. See? Humor. Mexicans and Puerto Rico, same thing, even though they're not even close together. No? Is that it's okay to make fun of Mexicans. It's okay to make fun of Puerto Ricans. It's okay to make fun of Jews and blacks and whites and Catholics and Protestants and Mormons. It's always okay to make fun of Mormons. As long as you're part of the club. As long as you're a particular shade of person or you vote in a certain block, you can make jokes. But how is that not a Nazi rally? Well, because it's a ridiculous notion to believe that there would be a Mexican Nazi. That it just doesn't make sense. It's stupid. Well, it also doesn't make sense when you consider the rally last night, where predominantly not just one, not just two, but most of the people who were talking were of a nationality other than white. You got a Jew, a black guy, and an Indian walk into a rally. A Jew, a black guy, and an Indian. And this is a Nazi rally. So you really believe the educated party, the DNC, the people who are supposed to be so highbrow, so intelligent, so damn smart that all of us have to bow down and honor their intelligence level because this is a Nazi rally. I don't think a Jew, a black guy, and an Indian would do very well in a Nazi rally. No, thank you, Jennifer. You're the best. Thank you for helping us with our goal this morning. We appreciate you. So let me get this straight. It's not that a Jew, a black guy, and an Indian negate the Nazi rally comments. It's not that you were wrong. It's not that you made a mistake, which it isn't a mistake. It was very purposeful and intentional to call this rally because you want to trivialize what Donald Trump did. Walked into the middle of New York, in Manhattan, got the Madison Square Garden. No, that's right. Madison Square Garden, where the New York Nazis play. I'm sorry, Rangers. New York Rangers play. And instead of saying, we made a mistake, we went over the top, we were stupid. You want us to believe that a Jew, a black guy, and an Indian are actually Nazis too. Instead of saying, holy shit, look at all those frickin' people, we may need to change our vernacular. We may need to change our way of speaking and communicating because they are kicking our ass in the deep blue state of New York. I would be shocked if Kamala Harris, you want to know why Kamala Harris didn't go to the Madison Square Garden? It wasn't because it was a Nazi place in 1939. It wasn't because they held the DNC there 6 times. It wasn't because Kennedy was there and Bill Clinton was there as well. It's because she couldn't sell that place out for the cost that it would cost. Donald Trump brought Hulk Hogan, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and a group of people, including Dana White. Kamala had to pay Beyonce, and if you think Beyonce did it for free, I've got a bridge to sell you in New York. I don't think Kamala Harris could get that many people in New York. I think they despise liberals right now, and they are having a really hard time justifying voting for them. Because the one thing New York people aren't are stupid. America isn't stupid. You people are so freaking low brow that you think that people actually believe that this is working, that this not. What happened to Joy? Don't you remember Joy? It's going to be a joyful campaign. Joyful, fuck that Nazi. Because this is what NBC did. And I want to say something. And I've been saying something the whole morning. Oh, I got to get close. There's a lot of people who watch my show, and we're getting some numbers in here finally. Thank God. Sorry about Wimkin, folks. That know that my last name is Speer or Speer. Yes, I have lineage directly with Nazis. Albert Speer was my great uncle who looks just like my father, and I'll probably look a little like him when I'm older. And he was a Nazi. There's 100%. I don't hide it. I talk about it. There is definite shame that person is in my family, but I don't take responsibility for who he was. I don't believe I owe Jewish reparations because my grandmother fled Nazi Germany. And she was Schwartz. So does that mean that all of a sudden, that because I have a Jew in my family who fled Nazi Germany, who told us the tales of the Holocaust, that all of a sudden that I am cleansed of my German Nazi heritage? No, because I'm not responsible for it anyway. I don't receive any pluses in the plus column because my grandmother was Jewish, and I don't have any minuses because my great uncle was a Nazi. Because none of them have anything to do with me. Hell, my great-great-grandfather owned 97 slaves. I mean, there's a whole bunch of racism in my family. I've got a great uncle somewhere who fought against the Indians. And I'm talking feathers, not dots. There's a whole slew of shit in my family that is not appropriate. What does that have to do with me? Nothing. Nothing. So when you call me a Nazi, you know why I get mad? Not because my grandmother was a Jew or not because my great uncle was a Nazi. I don't give a shit about either of those things. It's an interesting thing to say to preclude this statement or prelude to this statement is that I care about being called a Nazi because I've read about the history of World War II from Auschwitz to Normandy to Omaha Beach to Dresden. Doesn't matter. I love history, and I'm offended to be called by people a Nazi because they were the most reprehensible pieces of shit, at least in somewhat modern day history. And there are many of people who deserve complete and utter degradation and just dismissiveness when it comes to who they were throughout history. Japanese were one of them. Germans, for sure. Russians at times. We can look at South Africa. We can look at the Egyptians. We can look in the Congo. We can look in the United States with the Iraq War. There are plenty of groups of people in history who have done atrocities. The Nazis were so apparently different because they were apologized for by so many. Most people can say that Mao was a bad human being. Most people will say that Ming was not a good leader. Most people will say that Genghis Khan was not a good leader. Most people can say Attila the Hun was not a good leader. You can find things in their strategies and some benefit to what they created to humanity besides the utter devastation and the toll that they claimed against humanity. You can look at certain leaders and say, we can look at their styles and that they were military and tacticians that deserve to be analyzed so mistakes aren't replicated. Or maybe at some point they were an artist or a poet and their works were beautiful before they went batshit crazy and tried to take over the world. Those things are fine. But there should be utter condemnation for Adolf Hitler. And most people do. In fact, up until like 4 years ago, Hitler was absolutely like the one person nobody was like, yeah, Hitler's a good dude. Yeah, okay. Attila was a good leader, not a good person, of course, right? Napoleon was a military tactician that honestly, how he got out of some of the things that they did were incredible, but was revered by the people of France and feared by the people of France. That's my point. The point is, some of them may have been a good leader, but completely batshit crazy. Some of them may be batshit crazy or completely sane, but horrible leaders. Hitler, by pretty much everyone who has studied World War II, that Hitler was a complete lunatic. Although a very intelligent and strategic military leader, was a nut job. But he was also very charismatic. Now you hear speeches done by him where people are embracing him and saying, oh, he was misunderstood. He didn't mean to kill all those Jews. They took them in and didn't know what to do with them, so they just decided to humanely execute them because they didn't have enough food and medicine and water. What? That's not what happened. Hitler was a fucking demon. He was evil. But now, somehow you have people who revere him and are making excuses for him. But people on the left also sent love letters to Ted Bundy. People on the left watching Netflix, young kids who are considered left, are having fan clubs to Ted Bundy and how handsome he was and debonair and how misunderstood he was. This shit's fucking, these people are stupid. That's like taking Jeffrey Dahmer out for dinner. You are the main course. Your toes and fingers are the appetizer, man. What are you doing? Watch this video. This is insane. You know what? I can say it with a clear face and clear mind. Fuck MSNBC. I worked for NBC. I worked for Comcast, NBC. I ran one of the biggest state's retail departments and marketing departments for NBC. And I will say this with a straight face. Go fuck yourself. With everything in my soul, you people are not hated enough. And when I say I hate the media, you shouldn't hate. Fuck that. It's time to hate. Because what they're doing is most assuredly hate. And I am not going to sit here and let's all be Christian-like. Let's all just be Christians and be good Christians and say nice things and let's not cuss and let's pray for them. Fuck them. I'm not praying for Satan. I'm not praying for evil. No, fuck them. Every one of them. And anyone who supports them. And I don't care what media it is. I don't care if it's Fox. I don't care if it's MSNBC. Fox, 24 hours, 7 days a week, should be running counter content to this shit and showing America why it's lies, not just making up their own. But what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and show the George Lopez thing and go, oh, one combats the other. No, tell them why this is a lie. Tell them why this is complete nonsense. This is propaganda, that this shit should not fly. But instead, all they're doing is counter-programming to try to dissuade people from believing one lie with another. Listen to this.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. A rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
Yeah, that's news. You're trivializing every single person in that audience who has a relative who fought in World War II. You're trivializing every Jewish American in this country. You're trivializing anyone who has ever faced true racism and stood up and fought against it. You're marginalizing 50% of America, which is dangerous, and labeling them as Nazis. Fuck you. People get on me and they say, you shouldn't hate. Matt, you shouldn't hate these people. No, I fucking hate these people. I hate them. Because they are evil, and it's okay to hate evil. There is nothing wrong with hating evil, and there are people who are sent from the heavens to kill evil and fight evil. And I'm sorry, I come from a world, and I know a lot of people who served, a lot of people who are overseas. The only thing that kills evil is evil. And you can say, it's good. Good kills evil. No. Good gets its head chopped off. Good gets buried in the sand. Good gets taken prisoner and raped and mutilated and castrated and fed their own genitalia. Good is stomped into the curb. The only thing that stops evil are good men who are willing to do the same level of evil. That is the truth. And if you think I'm wrong, then you have never faced evil. I've looked it in the eye. I've interrogated it. I've analyzed it. I've tracked it. And I have sent instructions to eliminate it. And I will tell you, good men willing to do evil, unfortunately, is the only way to fight evil. This shit is evil. And I don't care about elections. I don't care about winning. I don't care about having a red corner or a blue corner. I care about people saying dangerous shit that got my grandmother's family murdered and gassed, and she had to flee her country as a young girl. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the rhetoric that I'm hearing Because there's only one. Donald Trump didn't say he's going to take the military and go after his political opponents. He said people who broke the law. People who violated the election and were criminals. If you're not a criminal, what are you worried about? There's only one group of people who are talking about knocking doors and taking guns. There's only one group of people that think censorship is a good thing. There's only one group of people who are knocking fucking doors and finding out how many friends you have and paying money to have your neighbors rat you out for not wearing a mask or having more than 4 people in your house. I'm telling you, I am not the guy who goes government overthrow, because that's stupid. Just you can't fight the federal government. I've already given you the analogy of the bears with 1,000 stings. The reason why the bear doesn't take the honey is because it just doesn't feel like getting 1,000 stings. But if it wants to, it's going in, it's going to take the honey, and every bee is going to die defending the honey. But it's the point of, does the bear really want to go in and fight those bees? It's not going to die. It's just going to be uncomfortable. It's going to get stung 1,000 times, and it's still going to win. Its nose is going to be covered and swollen, but in the end, it gets an amazing treat of honey. It's the deterrence. But you're not going to fight the very government. But I'll tell you what. There is nothing in my decorum and my conversations with people on this show that I say, fight the government, stand up, it's time to rise up. No. But I will tell you one thing. It's time to defend. It's time to resist this shit. It's time to speak out against it. It's time to ensure that you are prepared to defend your home when they come knocking on your door and say, I'm going to take what you have because you're a Nazi because you voted for Trump. Because if you think that that's not what's coming, you're not paying attention to what actually happened in Nazi Germany. I will never offend. Thou shalt not offend. I don't believe that we are in a time where we need to overtake the government. I think we are in the time where we need to defend our rights. That we need to stop allowing people usurp our rights and our freedoms because they are afraid. Donald Trump took no rights from anyone. There isn't one right that you didn't have in 2016 and 2020 that you don't have now. There is none. I want to be able to murder babies. You can still do that. You do not have to offend. That is not what I am saying. January 6th was the dumbest. Anyone who supports January 6th, call me on the show. 804-212-2208. And I want you to tell me this. And I'll get you a free new Don't Unfriend Me jacket. Dumb Nation jacket. Beautiful, beautiful, huge. Some say the best. Best ever, some say. I'll give you a free Dumb Nation jacket. Tell me why January 6th was good for America. Just tell me that. Tell me why J6 was good for America. I'll give you a jacket. Free of charge. $125 jacket. Free. Tell me why J6 was good for America. I noticed the phone's not ringing. Now, some people might say, oh, because it was fun. Give me my jacket. Derpy derp. No. Sorry to be a juvenile, but no, that's not what I'm saying. Tell me why, and convince me. Just make one point of why it was good for America. What was good about J6? Just tell me. One thing. One. It exposed the government and the FBI. No. No, it didn't. It created more conspiracy. J6 was fucking stupid. And so was BLM, and so was Antifa, and so was everything. So we're burning bras, and so we're going ahead and getting shot at Berkeley. All of it. Stupid. But some was necessary. J6 wasn't necessary. Burning down buildings for BLM wasn't necessary. Antifa. This isn't civil rights. This isn't suffrage. This isn't ending slavery. This isn't going ahead and stopping the freaking the mass prejudice against LGBTQ people. Okay? J6 was stupid. It was a fucking temper tantrum. Because you lost. You lost. You were upset. We didn't lose fairly. They cheated. No. Fact. Prove it. Just like the Summer of Love with George Floyd, prove that Chauvin tried to murder him. Prove it. Show us that he tried to murder. Was he responsible? Yes. Of course he was responsible. He sat on his chest. No, it's the fentanyl that killed him. Listen to me. You are not a doctor. I know what the autopsy. I've seen the official and I've seen the paid one. None of that fucking matters. Is it right to put your knee in the back of somebody's neck for 11 minutes next to a freaking car that's turned on who is obviously high as a fucking kite when they are in handcuffs and have them in a gutter? No, it's not. I don't care what you say. It's not right because you wouldn't want that to happen to you. I don't care how many fucking knives you held to a woman's stomach or how many blank checks you wrote. George Floyd was a piece of shit. That's an entirely different conversation. The question is, would you want that to happen to you? Even if you resisted, even if you were drunk, even if you found yourself in a state that wasn't quite optimal. No, of course not. Okay, fine. We can relate to that. Good. Now, should a cop spend the rest of his life in jail for that? No. Why can't both be true? Why can't January 6th be a series of events that some of them were completely innocuous and benign? Some of them had some malignancy, and some of them were downright abhorrent and malignant, because that's what happened. You had 57,000 people there that did absolutely nothing except go home. That went there to celebrate Donald Trump and wanted to give them support that he was their president. What's wrong with that? Nothing. And then you have the second thing where 3,000 some odd people climbed rafters, climbed on the marble, climbed on the construction, popped some mirrors, popped some windows, set off some fire extinguishers, desecrated property. We know this. Went on the floor, stole a computer, took some vandals, some bad shit. No doubt. Stupid. Those people, they deserve misdemeanors. They deserve trespassing. They deserve destruction of public property. They deserve a court date. Okay? You fucked up. You were stupid. You shouldn't have went in. It's the people's house. No, it's not. It's the people's house for a certain period of time and date because we have 332 million fucking people here. This isn't a country of 600,000 people anymore, folks. You got to have hours, visiting hours, of when you can go into the people's house. And when it's closed for construction or it's past visiting hours, tough shit. You come back just like you wouldn't go break into a fucking Walmart. How hard is that? It's not. And you all understand that because you haven't been arrested for going into the people's house after hours, have you? Because you know better. Okay, so those 2,000 to 3,000 deserve to have something. And the people who stood on the steps and didn't do anything, nothing should happen to them. And they should sue the shit out of the government for wrongful imprisonment and everything else. And then you had a group of the 150 that were on the stairs threatening to kill the guards, threatening to tear down, screaming in their face, spitting in their face, saying the words, I can't hold them back any longer. We're not here for you. We're here for them. Get the fuck out of the way. As Ashley Babbitt and others, Ashley sitting back and the guy smashing the window with a motorcycle helmet, pops the window and she is the first to go through. And people are like, she was there for damage control and she was trying to stop everybody from going in. Give me a fucking break. What happened to comply? What happened to follow the orders of the police department? The walls were barricaded. The doors were locked. They had 3 guards there. A man was there with a drawn pistol. And that was the last line of defense. You had no right to be there. It was a secure area, and you had a direct line to people who legislatively were elected to do their job. Whether they do it or not is a completely different process. And every one of them should be arrested and in prison. I agree with you. They're crooks. But we have a process in place for a reason. Either we are the law and order party or we're not. Which one is it? Yeah, but they stole the election. So we just burn shit down and fight and do exactly what they did in the neighborhoods with BLM? We take hostages with zip ties? We threaten police officers? I understand that there were multiple things that took place on J6, and some of it I condemn, some of it I don't give a fuck, and some of it was just fine. I know they let some in. I know they stopped some people from going in, and some of them did nothing at all. I know all those things. I know what Ray Epps did. We were one of the first places that broke that story. I'm aware. But I don't care how convincing someone is. You're not going to convince me to break the law. I don't care if you put on rubber ski mask and you're going and what are we doing? We're going to go rob a 7-Eleven. The fuck we are. Get me out of this car. I'd take the shotgun they gave me and point it at the car and say, let me out. FBI may have been there. Antifa may have been there, but it wasn't all Antifa and it wasn't all FBI. And you made a conscious decision to break the law that day and you need to pay the consequence. I don't care what the fuck happened. Either we care about the law or we don't. The one thing about this show, it is never, and it never will be, a black and white situation. You have to hold people responsible. But that means that you have to have a certain air of superiority about your own handling of issues, about how you present yourself. Who am I if I sit here and condemn people from going and doing that, and then I go do it myself? If we say that their trespassing laws and breaking into places is wrong and looting is wrong, well, then you agree that J6 should never have happened. But it doesn't mean these people need to be in prison for the rest of their lives. It doesn't mean that they need to be labeled as domestic terrorists. It doesn't mean that they need to be held without due process. There are more than one issues and things wrong with J6. There are hundreds of complete poor decision-making on all sides. There are abuses of the law on all sides. But this is the fragmented country we've grown up in, and we're now breeding in this country. It's no longer an abnormality. It is who we are. We are a nation of weakness. We are a nation of excuses. We are a nation of division. We are a nation of hate. And that is who we are now. And we were warned. We were told. When you're home alone and you hear footsteps and your cat's playing with a new mouse toy that you got her. This is where we're at as a country. So we can pretend and we can make it up and we can say, oh, I'm going to make excuses because it's on my side. But you know damn well, if Donald Trump wins in 2024 and Democrats do the same thing that we did on J6, you'll be the first one to condemn everything that they did. And you will conveniently forget everything about J6. You know I'm right. Then stop and ask yourself the question and be accountable and go, you know what? It's true. There are things that the right has done. There's a thing that the left has done. And I've forgiven one and I've condemned the other just because with a political party. I've done it. Why can't we admit that we do that and stop? And why can't we stop looking at the filter of left and right and just start looking at the things that made us a great country, which were right and wrong? That's all it comes down to. It's not black, white. It's not money, no money. It's not billionaires and the middle class. It's not God and no God. It's not Catholics versus Christians. It's not abortion, no abortion, life or death. It's right and wrong. And we have muddied the lines of right and wrong. Donald Trump is not perfect. The difference is Donald Trump is not pretending he's perfect. And he's not saying that he's perfect. There's only one party out there that's saying that they are perfect, that they are right, that they are the moral majority, that they are the best. They're the smartest. They have the best policies. And their thought is joy. And the other side is joyless. That they're educated and you're uneducated. That they are good to lead and you can only follow. There's only one party that is espousing this shit. That is the party that you should repudiate. That is the party you should move away from because they are telling you that they have all the answers. And that is a problem. Anyone who tells you they know everything, anyone who tells you that they have all the answers, have none of them. I know people, I've lost viewers because people are like, you think Ashley Babbitt deserved to die. No, I think Ashley Babbitt dying is one of the biggest wastes. That is tragic, beyond tragic. But what the bigger travesty to me is that someone actually convinced her that she should die. She was a hero. No. She was conned. She should be at home. She served her country. She should be with family. She should be ready to celebrate Christmas and Thanksgiving. What did she die for? Are you any more free today because Ashley Babbitt's dead? Are our elections more secure today because Ashley Babbitt's dead? You have the same fears of trepidation that you did in 2020 about 2024. We hear it all day. Why did she die? Because she disagreed politically with the other side? Because she was told that the election was stolen? So she should die? Where were you? Why didn't you give your life? If you believe so much in this, then why are you sitting at home? Why aren't you in jail? I always ask people that question. J6 was an amazing day and it saved so much for our country. Why aren't you in jail then? Why aren't you revolting right now? Why aren't you going down there and doing the same thing she did? Well, it's pointless. Yeah. Wouldn't it have been nicer if the 57,000 people were there decided to go ahead and file a quorum against the Senate and the House, go to the Sergeant at Arms and request a docket, have 2 people from each state come up and have 100 people with their names on a ledger requesting a quorum with the Speaker of the House to contest and protest as is in their First Amendment rights, to invite every media station to listen to the people argue and challenge against the certification of that election, to demand that there be an open investigation into these accusations before we announce a president, to have a stay of execution before we count because of the abnormalities in this election. If you truly believed it, then that's what you should have done. It would have done no good. Either was breaking into shit, and hurting people and disobeying cops and having Ashley Babbitt die. That was fucking useless too. So what is one useless motion better than the other? I will never, ever support what happened on J6. I can speak out against it, and I can say that they were wrong on both sides. I have defended posts, and so have a lot of veterans. And your standing order is to defend your post. And it does not matter. You challenge anyone who enters and tries to breach what you are defending, and if that person will not cease and desist with your contestation, you are allowed and demanded to use lethal force to protect and defend your post. Every veteran knows that. And every Capitol Police, their job isn't to go ahead and protect and to serve. They are to defend. That's what they do. The Capitol Police are there to stop anyone from entering an area or harming anyone under their protection with all use of force. And that's what happened. And you're surprised. No, oh my God. No, he didn't. See, Keith, I asked you to provide me a case, and you didn't last night. Why? You told me that there were cases out of the 64 that were presented where evidence was thrown away that was viable, and I told you to tell me which case, and you couldn't. Why would I answer another question from you when you won't even answer mine? Who would lead that due process DJT warned and tried, and the outcome was simply not controlled? I'm not going to answer your question until you answer mine. Name the case. Which state, which case on the docket? Please tell me. Please tell me who the people and who the versus was. Who was the defendant? Who was the plaintiff? Which case? I'll wait. I'll stop the show. Stopping the show for you, Keith. Tell me the case. Then I'll answer your question. Folks, thedumbshow.com, while we're waiting for Keith to show up. Tell me which case he's talking about where evidence was thrown away out of the 64 cases for Donald Trump. If you have not had a chance, we have a goal of $200. We're at $96.10 for just a morning show. We're going to start doing morning. I have no details. You win. That's right, because you never do. It's not about winning and losing. I don't win. You just lose. Because it's not me versus you. It's facts versus you making shit up. You lose in that endeavor. You failed to make something up that became fact. And everyone who does that fails. I don't win anything because I didn't create the facts. I just asked you a question that you cannot answer because you know you're wrong. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But now that you're wrong and now that you know that you believe something that's inaccurate, are you going to do the due diligence as a person to investigate further what else you're wrong about? Because that's the problem, y'all. When you see something that tells you this isn't right, this is a rectangle. Is that correct? Sure. Okay. That's a rectangle. Is that right? Yeah. That's a rectangle. Yeah, it sure is. That's a rectangle. No. Well, what do you mean? Because if I look at it this way, it's a rectangle. And if I look at it this way, it's a rectangle. But we're not looking at it that way. We're looking at it this way. Is it a rectangle? No, it's not. What you want to do is you want to twist it to your angle and show me this and go, rectangle, so therefore this is this. No, it's not. They're not the same thing. At the very least, there's two rectangles here. And if you go ahead and you start going, okay, well, if there's two rectangles here and it has two sides, it must have two opposing sides. So therefore, there's four rectangles. And then if you look at it from another angle and get a three-dimensional view, now there's five and there's six rectangles. Now, when you open this up, now you've got three more rectangles. Then you've got rectangle here. You got rectangle. Do you see? You're putting something and showing it to me in one way. When there are multiple facets and there's multiple situations, there's multiple angles to every single problem. And that's not the way the world fucking works. And you're smarter than that. I know you're smarter than that because you've been watching my show for years. Okay, Keith, great response. I wanted 100% of ballots vetted to provide truth. That's all. Looking for small pockets of fraud was wrong approach. Demanding the truth might have worked better. Okay, what truth are you looking for? The only truth that you'll be satisfied with is that there was theft. Do you understand that every single ballot is counted? Every single ballot is verified. I've explained the process to you ad nauseum. Every ballot is verified against the registry. If the registry is wrong, or somebody has moved out of state, or somebody is dead, or somebody has double voted, there are redundancies to check those things. Do mistakes happen? Sure. But the frequency of those mistakes are like 0.01% of all votes have fraudulent or possibility of fraudulent activity. It would literally be looking at like you're milling computer aluminum and you mill 700,000 units. And out of those 700,000 units, you have 0.01% waste. And instead of going ahead and certifying the release of those 700,000 units, the CEO goes, stop! I want to know where 0.01% of that aluminum went before we do anything else. And you're like, those 700,000 units are going to bring in $7 billion for the company. The loss of 0.01% of aluminum literally comes down to 26 cents per unit. We are going to literally search for $73,000 in order to circumvent $7 billion from being sold. Why? Every day we don't go to market, we lose 0.25% of our overall marketing budget and revenue goal and our targets. You're literally putting out $7 million a day in losses in order to try to find $72,000 in shrinkage. That's what you want to do. You want to stop the election because an infinitesimal amount of votes compared to the overall whole, which do not change the election in any way, shape, or form, versus looking at what actually happened. Now, if you're going to go ahead and say, hey, you're going to release 700,000 laptops, and there is a core thermal drive failure that when this thing gets to 112 degrees, that in the winter and months when people have their house at a cool 72 degrees, but might turn it up to 78 or 80 in the summer and not spend money on air conditioning, will ultimately fail these drives at a 50% rate, costing us $2.6 billion in factory recalls. And that CEO goes, we're not releasing this. Or we'll do an update before we release it. Or we'll release it, notify people, and do a firmware update to make sure the thing doesn't overclock and shuts down before that happens, or gives the person a warning that their device is going to overheat. Completely different situation. Or we're just not going to release it because the lawsuits are going to be more than what we would make on the product. Okay, now you've got an argument. Matt, out of the 170 million votes, 10% of them were fraudulent. Holy fuck, are you kidding me? Stop. It's time to arrest people. Secretaries of state are going to be arrested by the FBI and DOJ. We are going to investigate county captains and commissioners. We are going to make massive cleanup and arrest everybody who is involved. But what you're saying is that you have a little pile of aluminum shavings here and you're going to stop an election, and that is fucking stupid. Okay? That is the best way I can say it, man. And it's not that you're dumb. It's not that you're not a good guy. But what you want to do doesn't mean that the juice is worth the squeeze. You can't justify decertifying an election because you've got a gut feeling. You need facts. You need proof. And if there are inconsistencies, those need to be handled and have been handled, man. Since 2020, there's been like 370 some odd arrests in cases of fraudulent activity, and not just by liberals, dude. Republicans have been arrested too. Every election has arrests. Every election has FEC violations. And the Federal Elections Commission investigates these one-offs. But if it doesn't overall change the election, who gives a shit? Let them do their job and arrest these people. Now, do I believe that everything's on the up and up? Do I believe that COVID was constitutional? No, you know I don't. But there's no precedent for it. The Supreme Court needs to hear this. They need to ensure that no state has the right to usurp legislative powers and changes election law in the states, that no judge will ever be granted that power without due process of oversight and the appeals process. A perfect example is Virginia. It is now being heard exactly like I said it would. I told you 2 days ago, people are like, there's 1,600 people who are not U.S. citizens who are registered to vote. Governor Youngkin went ahead and demanded that those 1,600 be scrubbed from the voter registry. It was overturned by a district court appointed judge by Joe Biden, African-American female. I told you it's going to go to the district Supreme Court of the state now. That's what's happening. Who's going to overhear that? The Supreme Court justice over that district for Virginia, Maryland, and our section. That's why there's 9 Supreme Court justices. There's 9 districts, and each district has a Supreme Court judge assigned to it. And it will be overheard by the state Supreme Court, with the judiciary of the Supreme Court of the United States overseeing and listening. And more than likely, it will be overturned. There's your process. There's your checks and balances in this process. It's working. It's like the same people that say that Donald Trump's going to overthrow our democracy. He didn't. Well, he tried to. No, he didn't. Well, he said some mean things and he questioned the election. So did Democrats in 2000. So did Democrats in 16, 18, 20, 22, and they'll do it in 2024. Their lawyers are already gearing up when Kamala loses. 100% happens all the time. But our checks and balances work. This is why we've had a peaceful transfer of power since George Washington. Donald Trump did say the election was stolen. Donald Trump did put false state electors in place. Donald Trump battled as hard as he could to demonstrate, just like they did in 2016, 18, 20, and 22, that the election did not go their way, therefore it was stolen. He fought the fight. Democrats challenged, they hired celebrities and politicians to say that the state electors should not vote for Hillary Clinton, but they should have just not vote for Donald Trump. Isn't that election interference? They did a quorum up against, and Joe Biden gavelled them down, just like Al Gore did in 2000, where they all challenged the election and said, Joe Biden, do not certify the election. Is that not the same thing? Mike Pence didn't allow that process to take place and allow the GOP to do so. He did not allow that process to happen. But when he did certify the votes, there were GOP people like Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, etc., who did challenge. He gavelled them down and certified the election, because the state electors had followed their process and the electorate was verified. We have processes in place to stop fraud. We have processes in place to stop tyrannical rule. We have processes in place to stop dictators. We have checks and balances in places that the military commander of the armed forces cannot use it against the United States without due process, or recognizing or categorically recognizing that U.S. citizens are a threat to the United States security and national security. Does that mean that there aren't bad things that happen? Does that mean that the government doesn't overthrow its capability to is supposed to follow the legal process of making decisions? Yeah, they usurp it all the time. Does it mean that DOD document that actually gives local police and law enforcement the right to solicit help from the federal government to use lethal force against its citizens? That's some scary shit. All of these things, though, have a process in place. And before we flip out and freak out and cancel an election, maybe we should allow the process to take place. And when we do, we see a couple of things. We saw 64 court cases that didn't even reach preliminary hearing because during discovery they failed. That means the prosecutor and the defense had to agree and say, there's nothing here. It wasn't a judge. The judge didn't throw anything out. In all 64 cases, it was the prosecutor and the state that said, there's not enough here. They sit down and have a conversation and present it. I watched them all. They were on TV. Some lasted 30 minutes, some lasted 8 or 9 hours, some lasted days. And in every instance that I saw of those 64 cases, except for like 2, one of them was won by Donald Trump, which had nothing to do with election interference. And the other ones were technicalities where the evidence that they presented was inadmissible in court for some reasons. But most of it were false affidavits. Most of it was provable by a misunderstanding. Counter evidence provided by the state negated whatever the defense, the claimants went ahead and said happened. Whether it was boxes of votes being destroyed, whether it was fake dead ballots, whether it was people who were roommates, whether it was ballot harvesting, whatever it was Dominion servers, this shit was all, there was no there. It was all smoke and mirrors. It didn't even get past the discovery state. There was no trial, and because there was no preliminary hearing, because there was nothing there to discuss. Because most of the things, if not all of the things that were claimed, would not have had an impact in the election, or it was simply debunked and disproven. Whether it was 3,700 votes that were thrown away in Michigan, or whether it was something that happened in Georgia where 19,000 ballots were destroyed, all of that shit was disproven. But see, the thing is that you hear it because some asshat on Twitter or TikTok makes a video and you go, that's it. And you never follow up or you never check it again and you assume that it's correct. But then what happens is a week later or a month later or a year later, the truth comes out and we find out that person is now in jail because they falsified affidavits. Or we find out that person was disproven or their court case was thrown out. And instead of adding that to the kitty and saying, okay, you know what? Now I've got 64 cases. I've got 3,000 affidavits that have been thrown out. I have exculpatory evidence that's not exculpatory. It's based on supposition and conjecture. It's emotional diatribe without any fact. I'm still going to think it's stolen because the people who stole it are now manufacturing and suppressing evidence. When does it ever stop? When are we ever going to verify and saying, okay, there's too many things here that show that this isn't true? Instead, the conspiracy theory makes you go, oh, well, they stole the election, so now they're stacking the deck against the people who are presenting the cases, versus going, well, I've looked at the evidence and the evidence isn't evidence. When are we going to stop and say, let's focus on 2024? I understand 2020. I'll tell you what, COVID sucked. Emergency powers by judges. They changed the state laws and they extended the frickin' count and they allowed mass mail-out ballots to go out to people who are unregistered. It's an unconstitutional election. It will always be an unconstitutional election, and the American people have to ensure it never happens again. How do you ensure that? Vote and bring 10 friends with you and make this the biggest fucking turnout of Republicans, Christians, and gun owners ever in U.S. history, and we will win. Because there's a thing that we have now. It's called distrust. And Americans are taking pictures of their votes. Americans are screenshotting their computers. They're recording their actual vote. They're going to .gov and they're recording the certification process that their vote was counted. People are being smart. They're showing up early and they're going to show up on election day and walk in and say, I'd like to make sure my vote was counted. Yes, it is. Okay, have a nice day and leave. Or it's not there. I'm going to vote. I want a provisional ballot now. The things that we wanted that we didn't do in 2020, we're doing in 24. We are showing up in record numbers across all 50 states. Republicans are showing up early and voting. This is not the time. It is the time to get out and vote. We are in the middle of the fucking Super Bowl and we want to throw a Hail Mary in the second quarter? No. Stick to the plan. Vote. Vote early. Vote now. If you can vote now, vote. Take a screenshot at your .gov site for your state and ensure that your vote's been counted. If it hasn't, show up on election day, go there and say, I want to vote. They'll hand you a ballot. You fill it out, you scan it, you're done. If they say you can't, you already voted, you say, I want proof. You take a picture of it, you leave. You go in, they say, we don't have a record of you. I want a provisional ballot. Here's my registration. These are the things you need to do. Keith, they've been contesting elections since Alexander Hamilton and Burr, dude. Contesting an election isn't new. Every party does that. They don't like to lose. Especially when the vote's 97,000 votes. You want to know, if I put in $2 billion in a race and I find out that I lost by 97,000 votes and I look that represents what? Out of 180 million people, 97,000 votes? That's like what, 0.001% of the vote? Surely I can find 97,000 votes. Surely there was a miscount in some of the states where I can find that these swing states can now go to me and I can win. I'm going to challenge that shit. But that doesn't mean that they're right. It's not me coming down. Keith, you know me by now. I like you. I like the people on this show, but I challenge you because what you're saying, you're smarter than this. I have walked you through with fact, step by step, from the money Nancy Pelosi asked for the USPS expansion because she said there were too many mail-in ballots out there, that they were not going to be able to count them and the USPS needed help. Donald Trump wanted to shut that money down, that $900 million that they asked for to give the U.S. Postal Service. And he's like, no. Do you remember that? Do you remember that the state's attorneys and the Democrat attorneys that would go into Pennsylvania, went into Arizona, went into Georgia and contested what they could count? What signatures needed to be on, whether something needed to be filled out in triplicate, whether it needed an address or not, which ballots could be certified and which couldn't, delaying in Pennsylvania, asking for 3 weeks to count votes posthumously from the election. Remember all that? Do you remember 3 weeks before on my show where I was telling you that the media and the government was telling you that the election results would not be out the night of the election? Do you remember them saying also that they were going to count the day of first and the mail-in ballots last because there were so many mail-in ballots? And that when you went to bed and he was at an 11%, not to expect him to be at the same number. They said that all the time. I covered it for 8 hours that night. I even told you. And I said, guys, he's at 11% right now. That's not what it's going to be when they start counting mail-in ballots. They have not started those ballots yet. When they do, it's going to change. And you went to bed and you woke up and it changed and you got upset. And he was at 3.2%. Then he was at 2.8%. Then he was at 1%. Then he was at 6%. And then he overtook him in Arizona. And everyone's like, son of a bitch, we lost the election. And I'm like, that's what happens. And it only happened in COVID. Now it's a norm. Now states are no longer on the same page. Maricopa County is saying they're going to take 3 weeks. Pennsylvania is saying it's going to take an additional 2 weeks. People are saying they won't have a decision on election night. The only way to stop that, the only way to make sure that that does not take place is to show up and vote now. Then show up on election day if you can't verify that your vote is counted and get a provisional ballot in. We have to show 10s, 20s, showing up. Friends, family, call your grandma, call your grandpa, call your uncle, call your grandson, call your daughter, call your brother, call your sister, call your uncle, call your fucking neighbors and say, I'm going to vote. Have you voted? No, I'm not voting. What? Why? I don't believe in it. Well, it believes in you and it's going to take place no matter what. So get your fucking ass in the car. I'm taking you to Denny's. We're going to get a Graham Slam breakfast, and we're going to go ahead and do 2 espressos afterwards and get some fuzzy pancakes. We're going to fucking vote. Get your ass in the car, Gretchen. Whether I'm cussing or not doesn't mean anything. What matters is that you vote. Oh, it's not going to matter anyway. Yes, it does. You care about your city council? You care about your dog catcher? Care about your county clerk? You care about your state legislature? You care about your mayor? You care about gubernatorial? Yeah? Vote. You don't have to care about the presidency, but you need to vote for your state and local government because that's where the change is really going to happen. That's where your taxes are at. That's where your water's at. That's where your energy's at. That's where your zoning laws are at. That's where your kids' education is at. That's where the education you're paying for, even if you don't have kids. I am so sick of hearing that your vote doesn't count. Yes, it fucking does. Yes, it does. The only reason it doesn't count is because you won't sack up and go. Vote. All right. Good talk. Thanks for listening. Let's rock and roll. Oh, so many drama-filled events
right now. You see it there on your screen.
Let's see what else we got. A couple more, and then I got to go. Oh yeah, 2 hours. Jeez Louise, long day. All right. By the way, folks, thedumbshow.com/donate. It's not free. The show is not free. It costs money to put these on. So if you don't mind helping us out, we would appreciate it. Gretchen and Kamala have a beer. Oh my gosh. This is so cringe. Let me see if I can find it. I had a longer one. Oh, you know what? We need to show this ad.
One thing. Chris,
I put this ad up over the weekend and it is blowing up. If you want to know why you shouldn't vote for Kamala Harris, this is why. I don't need to say anything. Merry Christmas.
Dear
I'm going to get a cup
Kamala
of coffee.
Harris, let's get one thing crystal clear. The vast majority of American men have no issue with electing a female president. Our issue lies solely with you. You were second in charge of California for 13 years.
As California's Attorney General, Harris promoted enforcement of a law that allowed prosecutors to seek jail time for parents of truant kids.
As a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
I thought that was crazy. I was like, how can you lock parents up?
If you don't go to school, Kamala's going to put you and me in jail. Yes, we achieved intended effect.
I opened the door and I see at least 7 or 8 cops wanted to arrest me. As a matter of fact, they did.
And frankly, you know the prosecutors in my office who volunteered to do this? My homicide prosecutors, my gang prosecutors. And they went over there, and I said, when you go over there, look really mean.
She had me arrested and prosecuted because my handicapped daughter was sick in the hospital and had missed some days of school.
I learned that with the swipe of my pen, I could charge someone with the lowest level offense. That person could be arrested. They could lose time from work, and their family maybe lose their job. They'd have to come out of their own pocket to help hire a lawyer. They'd lose standing in their community.
I lost my job and couldn't pay rent, and we got evicted.
Weeks later, I could dismiss the charges, but their life would forever be changed.
I became homeless. We had to move into a motel.
All because of the swipe of my pen.
I don't agree what Kamala Harris did to my mom, and I don't agree with what she's done to other parents as well.
You were second in charge of the United States for 4 years.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Inflation is hitting the highest level in 39 years. A record high number of illegal crossings.
Crime's been surging across the nation.
Huge spikes in homicides.
Could we be heading toward World War III? After 17 years of failed leadership, you are now asking us to trust you as first in charge of our country.
I am concerned and focused on big issues. Elementary and middle school truancy is actually a big issue. If we're trying to save the state money. Because of truancy, California public schools lose $1.4 billion a year in funding. I want money.
My message to all Americans, do not trust Kamala Harris.
As men and protectors of women and children, you are simply a risk we are not willing to take.
Paid for by Maha Alliance and not authorized by any candidate or
I'll be honest with you. If I could play that ad for the rest of my live airtime, I would. But unfortunately, I can't. 2 birthdays today. If you're waiting for your birthday message, I'm gonna be cutting those here shortly. I know who you are. Don't think I don't. I'll have those up on the site here shortly. Folks, it's not that Donald Trump is the only answer for our country. I'm not that naive. It's that this is the easiest way to say. I wish I could say something different. It's not qualified. It's not that she doesn't have the experience. It's that she's not capable. And that's it. It's not faculties. It's not how many times she was a governor or a senator or a state legislature, which she was some of those things. It's not that she doesn't have the right color or the right education level or the right genitalia. It's none of those things. For the first time ever in U.S. history, she is a manufactured candidate who nobody wants. Nobody. At least Trump has 71 million, probably closer to 80 now, who want him. They don't know what they want. They just know that they don't want Trump, and that's not the answer. That is the dumbest fucking reason to vote for a person, is because you've been told to. Nobody's telling you to vote for Trump. I'm just telling you, don't fucking vote for Harris. Don't do it. It's like when I voted for Ross Perot, my dad was like, Maddie, your vote is doing nothing. He can't win. Even if everybody who said they was going to vote for him voted for him, he still couldn't win. Because those people are not going to not vote for Bush or Clinton. you have a responsibility to vote, because your vote is going to be replaced by somebody who's simply voting for Kamala because they were told to. And that's enough for her to win. Do you understand how bad that is? Okay, if this was a ceremonial type thing like homecoming queen, you want the hottest chick with the biggest boobs. You don't give a fuck if she's dumb, because really, what is she going to do? Is she going to fall in the back of the Rolls Royce when they drive around the football field? Is her crown going to fall off? Is her strapless dress going to, slip or something? Who cares? What is she going to do? Is she going to, off with your heads? Is she going to go ahead and invoke a rule of prima nocta where, or is she going to go and tax you for your lunch money? No, she's a homecoming queen. Who cares? This isn't a homecoming race. This is a person where the United States truly is in a transformational position where the next 50 years will decide whether the United States is still the United States or if the United States is no longer the United States. That's it. That's it. And you have to ask yourself the question, who is going to do the most damage and who has had a legacy of not doing damage, especially when it comes to geopolitics, the border, war, the economy. We know what Trump's going to do, and it's going to be better than it was the last 4 years. So the obvious choice is, instead of fucking voting for kick me in the dick more, how about we just stop being kicked in the dick? Isn't that the better choice? Just stop kicking me in the dick. That's all I want. You're voting for your team captain. You're voting for your lead. You're voting for your manager. You're voting for your CEO of the company. You're voting for the person who's going to represent you. Do you really believe that Kamala fucking Harris represents you? How can you say she does? Kamala Harris doesn't even know what she represents. She doesn't even know who she is. She changes her stances more than any other human being I've ever seen. It's almost like split personalities. At least with Donald Trump, you know what you're going to get. Donald Trump had the House, he had the Senate, he had the judiciary, and he had the executive branch. He had the highest court in the land. He had the highest legislators in the land, and he had the executive branch. If he was going to institute Project 2025, why didn't he do it then? Why isn't abortion illegal everywhere? Why isn't the border secure and closed? You're giving the president too much power. But where the president doesn't have the authority to do the things you're saying, where they do have the authority is to institute unrest, institute weakness around the globe, and inspire people to take advantage of the United States. Don't we remember what happened with Obama? Don't we remember what happened with Kennedy? Look where we were from an overall USA, from a global standpoint with Kennedy. Laos, Indochina, you had unrest civilly, racial divide. All of this came to a boiling point when they killed Kennedy. LBJ came in and it just, everything went to shit. Look what happened with Carter. You had gas lines. You saw the pullout of the Vietnam embassy. You saw Iran. You saw terrorism increases. You saw the shitstorm that the U.S. became. Take a look at us under Bush Jr. The amount of spending, American lives, the wars and conflict, the bureaucratic corruption. Look under the racial division under Obama. Voting for the wrong person can create more hardship for the United States. And right now, We don't need the stock market to do better. We don't need social equity. We need wars around the world to stop. We need wasteful spending to stop. We need government to restrict its size. We need to lower taxes. We need to protect our rights and embrace the Constitution of the United States and bring some common fucking sense. And Kamala Harris doesn't have any of that. She doesn't have common sense. And that is the one thing we need. Right now, in the Oval Office, is common sense, and she doesn't have it. We need strength, not weakness. And that's it. And that's the truth. Get out and vote. I know I don't have to convince you, but you do have to convince the people around you. You got to convince the people around you to vote. Because these are the type of people right here who are voting for Kamala Harris, and then we're done. I'm leaving. Folks, if you haven't donated to the show, help us out. We ran a 3-hour show today. Got about halfway to our goal. Your help would be appreciated by going to thedumshow.com/donate. Watch this. These are the people voting for, listen to this. This is a vote for Kamala.
Salam, everyone. I just gotta ask, who's cosplaying? See, cosplaying is when you dress up as something that you aren't or someone you aren't. I am a Muslim woman. I wear what a Muslim woman wears. I dress like that. So, who's cosplaying here? I think you need to learn the words that you're trying to use because they ain't working for you.
There you go. Yep. I encourage you to go to Egypt and tell them that you're a Muslim woman. That video would be something that went viral. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. If you have not had a chance, please stop by, like, share, and follow. You can get some great shirts. We've got an awesome polo. We've got great jackets. We've got coffee. Coffee is amazing over at thedumshow.com. Go pick up some coffee, pick up a t-shirt. Hoodies are on sale. Very cozy and comfy. We added the Documents of Freedom box set in the leather bound, not just the wooden. We have the wooden option, the 3 books, or the 3 books in the leather bound, all available for holidays and Christmas. These are shipping today. I will be shipping in 2 days the box sets to the people who've ordered them. I've got quite a few. Thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. We're back 7 o'clock tonight. 7 o'clock. Stop on by, say hello, and come and see us. We will be live at 7 with myself, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. This will be up on the podcast here in the next 30 minutes or so as soon as I cut it. God bless. See ya later. Bye.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.